Good morning and welcome to the You've Graduated What Next webinar. Thank you so much for joining us. It's wonderful to see so many of you joining the webinar this morning. I'm Craig Garton, I work for CXK and I'm Director of Operations responsible for the National Careers Service. Before we start, just a few thank yous from me. So thank you to ACAS, our partners in bringing you this webinar. Thank you also to all of our colleagues at ACAS and the National Careers Service for putting together such a brilliant agenda. You can see the agenda hopefully on screen in front of you. So just a short introduction for me to walk you through that agenda and get you ready to start the webinar this morning. As you can see, we've got a whole range of different sessions for you throughout the morning. So to begin with, we've got our National Careers Service Careers Advisors that are going to talk you through the tools and techniques of finding your next job, your next opportunity now you've graduated. We then move into brilliant few sessions from 4 employers who are going to bring you their experience and their opportunities as graduate employers. We've got Enterprise, Teach First, PwC and RSA Group. So we're really fortunate to have them here with us this morning to give you the benefit of their experience. And hopefully you'll walk away today learning a little bit about that, and there might be some opportunities there that you're interested in. We then move into a session on graduate recruitment from the Graduate Recruitment Bureau. So they're going to bring to you their experience and their network of graduate recruiters and the work that they do. They're also going to be giving you some top tips so you can really start to plan out how you make your next step into graduate recruitment. After lunchtime, we're going to move into a university career support from the University of Leeds. And then finally, we're going to end the day with some insights from graduates that have been there, seen it and done it. So hopefully you'll be able to take this session today as an opportunity to reflect, to explore, to really think about what your next steps will look like. Such an important time for you to take stock of where you are now, think about what you've learned, and then make a real solid plan as to what you want to do in the future. I've got some wonderful professionals here this morning that are going to take you through, share the benefit of their experience, and I hope put you in a really, really good place. This is the 4th event we've run in terms of a webinar for graduates. Every year we get amazing feedback from this event, and I hope today that you will enjoy what we've got to offer, and also stay in touch with us. Leave us your details, make sure we can get in touch and send you further information so we really can hopefully help you on your journey to getting that next job. Okay, all that remains for me to do is to wish you luck. I hope you enjoy the content, and I'm going to hand over to Paul, who's going to take you through the rest of the session.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that introduction, Craig. So my name is Paul. I'm the current president of ACAS. Just very quickly, what is ACAS? It stands for the Association of Graduate Careers Advisory Services. So I guess to actually try and unpick that and make sense, basically every university in the UK has a careers team, a careers service of some form or another. We're the national association for all the people that work in those various teams. So we're delighted to be once again partnering with the National Career Service on this event. I say it's great to see so many people here in attendance, and I'll just be guiding us through the agenda that Craig's just outlined. And as you've hopefully seen, a real wonderful variety of different employers and organisations to give you guys a lot of support at this point of time in your lives and in your career. So just a couple of very sort of quick housekeeping bits, as it were, in terms of how to use this webinar. There's a Q&A button, so at any point do put your question in there. Some of the speakers may be able to answer those questions live during their session, but if not, do not fear. They're going to answer them all in the chat afterwards. So yeah, any questions, do just put them in there. They will get answered. There'll also be a registration form that you'll be made aware of at various times in the chat. So as you've heard already, do use that, because one very important feature of that is where you can kind of tick which employers and organisations you want to hear from after today. So if you've been really inspired by one of the speakers and really interested in one of the companies, make sure you fill in that registration form so you can find out even more information afterwards. So without further ado, we'll get into the event itself. And first up, I say we've got Stephen and Katie from the National Careers Service, who are going to talk sort of very generally about the graduate job search and some great tools and techniques that you can use at this point in time and in the near future. So without further ado, over to Stephen and Katie.
Thank you, Paul, and welcome to the Graduate Job Search Tools and Techniques session. We do have a customer charter. I'm not going to go through all of this because obviously we will email out the presentation anyway, but one of the things that I wanted to highlight is the top middle one, providing ongoing support. So don't feel like after today that's it. You'll have careers advisors from your university that you can tap into, but you'll also have us national careers that you can tap into as well. Moving on, just very quickly, we've got our National Career Service website as well. You will find it very useful, especially when you start looking into different career options. As you can see, there's the Explore Careers section, which has over 800 career options. And the key thing in there, they've got industry-specific buzzwords. So when you're filling out your application form or CV, you'll find that a particularly good resource. And I'll go into that in a little bit more detail and show you a screenshot in just a moment. We do have a little skills assessment. It kind of throws up some potential suitable career options, but I would say it's only as good as how you use it, so to speak. So if you answer it as a teacher, say, you'll come up with a teacher at the end of the quiz. But if you answer it as you as an individual and what's important to you, then it will probably come up with quite a nice range of career options for you to consider. I often encourage people to think about what can you do. That's one thing, but often what we can do isn't necessarily what we want to do moving forward. So some people can work as part of a team, but they might not really want to work as part of a team. So it's answering the questions honestly and getting better feedback through that. We've also got loads of information on courses. I'm not going to go through all of them, but the skills toolkit was introduced during lockdown. Government asked education and industry where are the shortages when it comes to the skills, and they came up with the skills toolkits. So do feel free to check that out. There's quite a wide range of courses and they're all free. And then last but not least, when it comes to the information on our website, there's a careers advice section. So there's advice on how to go about choosing a career, then how to go about obtaining work, and then how to go about progressing your career once you're in work. So there's some really useful tools on there. Moving forward, you will have mine and Katie's email address, so you can email us directly in due course, but we also have an 0800 number and a web chat facility as well. So if you've got any questions, feel free to ask. I did mention, I'll quickly show you an example of one of the job profiles. This one's for business analysts. There's a quick example there. It talks about starting higher end of the salary. That's quite useful because then you can kind of gauge where you might be starting out. And if they did ask the question, what wage would you be looking at? It kind of gives you a bit of an idea as to where you might pitch yourself, basically. So obviously further in your career with experience and further qualifications, you'll be looking at that higher end. I particularly like the how to become section, especially the last bit in the how to become, because there's often industry bodies mentioned in here, and these guys are the people who oversee a particular industry. So for example, CDI or Career Development Institute are one of the ones that oversee the career service, and on there you will find information about courses that you can do for professional development, and you'll also find information about networking events and things like that. And this is the case with a lot of the career options on the database. There will be an industry body, and if you click on that website, you'll find all that information that can help progress the career in a positive way. The what it takes is really useful as well. It lists off some of the skills qualities you're likely to need for your CV, your application form, help you prep up for interviews as well. And then obviously there's all these other headings, but I won't go into all of those. But I just thought I'd give you a quick introduction to what we've got available on our National Careers website. Moving forward, you've graduated, so now what? Well, I'm not going to go into loads of detail on each of these because obviously we've got a short amount of time to go through the whole presentation, which is why Katie's sorted out some hot links. So if you click on the Master's PhD, it'll take you to a relevant hot link to find out more information and resources to help you move forward if that's the option you want to choose. But as you see, there's quite a wide range of schemes here. I'm going to mention one graduate scheme, Katie's got a friend by the name of Peter who graduated from Manchester University. He was looking to get into finance, and he spotted a graduate scheme with the Financial Conduct Authority. He went through quite a rigorous interview process with them, and that included interviews, group interviews, team exercises, and more. And basically, he got the job. He has been happily employed for 15 years and has worked his way up to a senior role as well. So these graduate schemes are great because it provides you the opportunity to learn and earn at the same time, a bit like an apprenticeship, but obviously aimed at a graduate. So like I said, I'm not going to go through all of these because there's the hot links and obviously you can take things further forward. The one I would mention though is the volunteering. So if you've not got much by the way of work experience, do go out and do some voluntary work or try and gain some work experience either through your university or somebody else that you know, or through the hot link mentioned here. Employers do value you putting into practice what you've been learning, so gaining that experience is vital. The other thing to think about is knowing your target. So we've mentioned the National Career Service website. There is another one called the Prospects website. Use both when it comes to building your CV and checking the skills qualities that you need for a particular job role, looking at the industry bodies and so on and so forth. But you have got these other two websites here, and there's links for those as well. LMI for All looks at which kind of job sectors are growing, which ones may be declining, or which ones may be quite settled, if that makes sense. And then it gives you a bit of a feel for, do I go in this direction or not? I always remember speaking with a gentleman who worked in print at the time, and he noticed when we were looking at the LMI that the print was in a bit of a decline, and he used that to help make the decision, rather than going through another redundancy process with his company, that he would take the redundancy and move off into a different career direction. So this LMI is really important, and another avenue for LMI is checking your local news as well, because there's often news headlines about different industries, what's doing well and what's not. NOMIS is a good one as well because it looks at different towns, what kind of industries are predominant in those towns. So if you're thinking, oh, I really enjoyed my time at, say, Newcastle University or UEA or wherever, what are the kind of jobs available in this town, then obviously check NOMIS and get a feel for it there. About making connections in the industry bodies, and like I said, they're mentioned on the National Careers website, but you've got Eventbrite and Expo events, and again Katie's kind of added in some hot links for those so you can research into them a bit more. She did want to link in for the university alumni, but there's so many universities that there'd be a lot of links there. So if you're attached to a particular university, check out the alumni and join the group and take things from there. But this is an important one, the hidden jobs market. They reckon that up to 60% of jobs are never advertised because they don't need to be. And you might be thinking, well, how do I tap into that then? Because when you look on Indeed or CV Library or any of those websites, they're advertising the jobs that are known. So that's the visible jobs market, and that's 40%, but there's another 60% that's hidden. So then it's about networking. One of the best ways of networking is through LinkedIn. And as it highlights here, there's doing a good profile, making sure you've got a good picture of yourself, not like the guy in the first photograph, for example. Update things regularly and keep things fresh. Be active by sharing, commenting, and networking with other people. Publishing content as well can, as it highlights here, increase traffic to your profile. But avoid generic buzzwords. So we often have a bit of a laugh about this when we see CVs that read an honest, reliable, hardworking individual, great team player, etc., because they would be kind of the generic buzzwords. And a lot of people do stick those in because that's what they see is advised on, say, Google search or something like that. We would say avoid those generic ones and zone more in on the industry specific buzzwords and stick them in. How useful is LinkedIn? Well, there is an option on there to say that you're looking for work or you're open for work opportunities. I'm going to give a very quick example. There was a lady who I spoke to who said she loved LinkedIn because she got quite a few jobs through it. And she gave the example of one employer who was in admin contacting her because they liked her profile and said, we like what we see on LinkedIn. We'd like you to apply for this role if you're interested. So she looked at the job role, was interested, applied, got the job, and was happily and gainfully employed for a number of years. Unfortunately, the company went bust and she was made redundant. So she went back on LinkedIn, advertised herself as looking for work, but this time an estate agent contacted her and said, I know this isn't your usual line of work, but we like your skills, qualities, your experience, and we think you would make a great estate agent if you're up for a career change. And she thought, yeah, why not? So she went for the interview, got the job, and became an estate agent. So that's the power of LinkedIn. So yes, you have to put a bit of effort in by updating regularly, etc. But it's also doing quite a bit of work for you in that employers are potentially spotting you and thinking, I like the look of this individual, and privately messaging you and you getting called up for interview. Moving quickly on, we'll have a quick conversation about CV tips. So there's a few things to think about here. These are the top 5 CV mistakes to avoid. So too long, too short. So you're talking about 1 or 2 pages, but this one's really important. Visually unappealing and difficult to read. A lot of people aren't necessarily aware that employers increasingly use applicant tracking systems. So they're not actually looking at your CV, but if you've used a really fancy down new font, or you've got it formatted in a certain way with pictures, logos, things like that, the applicant tracking system might not be able to read your CV. And even though your CV might be great, if the applicant tracking system can't read it, then you'll get a very quick reply saying thanks, but no thanks. So that's one thing to bear in mind, is don't go with all these formats and things like that. I know there's loads of templates available online, but probably the best bit of advice is stick it on a Word document and freestyle it. The other thing to think about with the applicant tracking system is making sure that you include the keywords that they're looking for. So that links in with point number 3, not tailoring your CV to match the job. So I've seen people put retail experience on their CV thinking, well, that covers communication, customer service, teamwork and more. But they've not got the words customer service, teamwork, communication on their CV. So then it's not getting picked up by the applicant tracking system because that's programmed to look out for those keywords. So always make sure you stick those in. Another little tip is don't just put your duties, what you actually did in the job. List some achievements as well. That's really important because employers value that. They like to think that you don't just turn up at work and do the job, but that you go a step beyond. So if you've ever been asked to mentor or train another member of staff, that would be a good achievement. If you got promoted, that's an obvious one. If you've done training on the job, that would be another achievement because you're learning and developing your skills and so on and so forth. I've got a list of about 8 potential achievements, so if anybody wants any advice or that list, just ask and we'll get that pinged out to you. And then, believe it or not, number 1 was typing errors, poor spelling and grammar. So use the spell check, but be aware there's British English and there's American English. So colour, for example, would be spelt differently. Choose the British English, obviously. But even after you've put it through spell and grammar check, do make sure that you get a second pair of eyes looking at your CV, because you might miss something that's spelt right, but isn't necessarily what you wanted to say. So, for example, and one person put that they were clam under pressure. What they meant to say was calm under pressure, but there's something a bit fishy about that, pardon the pun. But always get that checked. And then the final bit of advice when it comes to moving things forward, it is okay to take time out. I remember when I finished my degree, I felt a bit bushed, and I thought I'm going to take a month out and just relax and unwind a bit. Use a lot of mental energy, obviously, and that can be pretty exhausting. So do take some time out, refresh, and come to the job seeking, feeling good about yourself. But once you start, create that job seeking routine that works for you. So say you're a morning person, you're quite buzzing in the morning and all your good ideas come out in the morning, but you tend to flag in the afternoon, then maybe set the morning aside for doing all your job seeking stuff and the afternoon for something else. Key thing is to adapt your approach as you go along. So I'll give it as an example. One lady sent out 500 CVs and only got 2 replies. She could have just carried on sending out her CVs and still getting very little reply. But she didn't. She thought, there's something wrong with my CV. I'm going to see a professional and get some help with that. We, National Career Service, did help with that, and she obviously started getting a lot more feedback from the employers and got gainfully employed too. Along the way, you will get rejections in all likelihood, because that's the world of work. There's a lot of people going for positions. So the key message here is don't take that personally, but ask for feedback. If you ask for just some feedback, likelihood is the employer will say something along the lines of, oh, well, there was a stronger candidate. And you're kind of thinking, well, I kind of guessed that, otherwise I wouldn't be here asking for feedback. So my top tip is ask for 3 things that they liked about your application and interview, so you know what you're doing well, and ask for 3 things that they think you could improve on. Chances are there won't be 3 things to improve on, but at least you'll be able to identify the thing that is holding you back potentially, and then get that support for help with dealing with that. So say, I don't know, for example, you didn't explain some of your examples very well for, say, teamwork or customer service, etc. And you might think, well, how could I improve that? And then obviously you can speak with your university careers advisor, us, or family, friends, etc. So that's a key thing there. Having a life outside job seeking is also important. You don't want to become so obsessed that it drives you crazy. So do things to boost your energy. They often say if you do sporting activities, for example, it gives you a bit of a rush and a bit more extra energy. Linking in with other people, so it's not a solitary thing as well. So you could do job search with your friends, but also do some sociable things with your friends as well. It's about having a balance. But the key message, I suppose, to pretty much end on is you're not alone in your job search. So tap into your family and friends, tap into your university careers advisor, tap into National Career Service, and so on and so forth, and you will get there. And I will end with a reminder there that our 0800 number 100, 0800 100 900 number is available, or if you prefer, there is the web chat facility as well. I'll hand back to Paul.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Steve, there for opening today's webinar in absolute style. Really enjoyed that. And thank you again, Katie, for dropping in all the links into the chat there. So do access those. And as you've seen there from the National Career Service website, a whole wealth of information there to help you at whatever point you might be in your career now. And I think kind of for me, a real standout point there is about how there's no specific path that everyone has to go down. This is your life and your career, and there's lots out there to explore. And with that, I'll use that as a shameless segue into the first of our 4 employer presentations now. So up first, we've got Louise Taylor, who's the Talent Acquisition Marketing Specialist from Enterprise Mobility. So without say further ado, over to you, Louise. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul, and thank you so much for having me on the webinar today. I am really excited to chat through everything graduate trainee program at Enterprise Mobility today. So I have got a jam-packed agenda, so I'm going to get started, but I thought it probably best to introduce myself first. So obviously, as Paul said, my name is Louise Taylor and I head up talent acquisition marketing for Enterprise Mobility. My career started on the graduate program at Enterprise, and I started in the Darlington branch as a grad management trainee, worked my way up to management level and reopened the Bishop Auckland branch after COVID hit, and then eventually sidestepped across to do this role now. So my role is everything pre-marketing. So I do all of our advertising and marketing from a recruitment standpoint for the northeast of England. So that is a lot of engaging with students and colleges and job centres to essentially market our opportunities so that we can hire the best diverse talent into the automotive industry. So without further ado, I thought I'd best start with explaining a little bit about who we are and what we do. So we are now known as Enterprise Mobility. You may know us as Enterprise Rent-A-Car. That is the household brand. We have just had a huge company-wide rebrand over the last year, so we are now known as Enterprise Mobility, but as I've said, a lot of people still do acknowledge us by our previous name. So this slide here is just all of our brands, and I wanted to chat through quickly exactly what it is that we do at Enterprise, because I completely understand that car rental maybe doesn't sound like the most exciting industry, and I know that for a fact if you told me when I was 18, 19 that I was eventually going to have a career working for a car rental company, I would have said that sounds like the most boring thing in the world, but I promise you that it's not, and I'm here today to explain a bit more about what we do behind the scenes. So Enterprise Mobility is actually the world's largest transport company. So although we are known for being a car rental company, we do so much more behind the scenes that a lot of people in the general public aren't aware that we actually do. So this slide here is a very brief snapshot of our brands, but we do have a lot more than this as well, but these are the main ones. So you hopefully recognise Enterprise, National and Alamo. That is the brands that you will have seen if you were travelling in an airport, train station. You may have seen our Enterprise branches located around city centres and towns near you. You may have seen our vans with the logo on the side. But Enterprise, National, Alamo are the household brands that everyone knows about. So we have three major kinds of business within that. So the first one is retail. So as I've said, you might be on holiday, you might be at an airport and you're renting a vehicle to get around. You've maybe rented a van because you're moving house, or maybe you have your granny coming in and you only drive a Fiat 500 3-door and you can't get her in the back, so you need an SUV. Anything where you are going to be paying for that rental is classed as a private retail rental. We also have contracts with all major insurance companies across the UK, so the likes of Aviva, Axing, Hastings, Zenith, which means that if you are unfortunate enough to have an accident, Enterprise will be the one that provides you with that courtesy vehicle. We also, alongside that, have contracts with a lot of body shops and dealerships across the UK as well. So if you are unfortunate enough to own a BMW, sorry for any BMW owners on here, but they do always break down and there's always recalls on them. Enterprise has a contract with BMW to provide you with a replacement one whilst yours is in getting fixed. So again, we've got those large contracts across the UK. And finally, we do short-term business rentals. So your company might need to send you across the country for a business meeting. Enterprise will provide you with a vehicle to allow you to do that. So that's the more household well-known brands. The largest side of our business, which is Enterprise FlexiRent, is actually really what kept us afloat during COVID and what helped set us apart from some of our other competitors in the car rental space out there. So for Enterprise FlexiRent, we provide a lot of emergency services vehicles. We provide a lot of the refrigerated HGVs for the likes of some major supermarket chains. We do a lot of groundwork and roadwork vehicles. So again, sorry if you've ever held up at traffic lights, 9 times out of 10, it's Enterprise vehicles that are working on the road. And we also do some specialised vehicles as well. So again, different kinds of refrigerated trucks. We even used to do submarines, ambulances, that kind of thing. So Enterprise FlexiRent is our long-term business leasing contracts. And the only other one I want to mention, because I'm sure we do have some people that are passionate about cars, specifically fast cars watching, we've got Enterprise Exotics. So that is our Lamborghinis, Bugattis, Porsches, our VIP vehicles for VIP clients, essentially. And those branches are located in London and Manchester. So if you are interested in learning a little bit more about Enterprise, I really would urge you to go online and have a little look at some of these other brands out there. As I've said, we have so many different things going on behind the scenes, but I want to focus more on our graduate opportunities today. But I wanted to give you that quick snapshot. So as I've said, we are the world's largest transport company, and you can see here just how dominant we are across the globe. So we're in over 90 countries and territories and over 10K global branches. And one of the things that makes us a really popular graduate employer is the fact that we have over 400 locations in just the UK alone. So the stat is that no matter where you are in the UK, there should be an enterprise within an hour and a half of you. So you can imagine that from a graduate opportunities perspective, that allows us to not only hire a lot more graduates into our industry, but also offer a wider range of locations as well. So on average, yearly, we take round about 1,500 graduates, which is a crazy amount and does make us one of the largest graduate employers in the UK. But what that also means is that we are not expecting you to relocate or commute crazy distances to get on the career ladder. The way it works is that you apply for a region. So, for example, I am from Darlington, up in Darlow. In this area, we're classed as the Teesside region. Within that, we have 7 branches. So if you were like me around this area, you would apply for that region, and then we would put you in one of those 7 branches, ideally the one that is as close as possible to your home postcode, but we would never make you commute longer than 40 minutes to work. And that is the same for all cities and towns across the UK. You apply for a region, we put you in the closest branch. So again, that is what makes us such a competitive graduate employer. I can't talk about graduate outcomes without talking about diversity. So we recognise at Enterprise that everyone brings something special to the table, whether that is your background, culture, abilities, values. We all think it is absolutely wonderful, and we cannot attract a diverse customer base if we do not have a diverse employee base. So that is something that we are really, really passionate about at Enterprise. And as you can see, the proof is really in the pudding here. We've got some incredible awards on the screen here. So we've been a top 50 employer for gender equality, which is something that is really important to me because the transport trade is known as being quite a male-dominated industry, and Enterprise has really come along leaps and bounds over even just the last couple of years in making sure that we're working towards being equal in terms of how many males and females we have on the teams. We're a top 75 employer for the Social Mobility Foundation. So I know that today we're talking about obviously people that have just graduated, but over the last couple of years, Enterprise, for inclusion reasons, has actually removed the need for a university degree to work for us as long as you've got sufficient customer service experience. And the reason why we've done that is we recognise that there's a lot of people that maybe can't go to university or are unable to go, and we still believe that those people should have an excellent career. So we actually removed the need for a degree a couple of years ago. And we're also a disability confident employer. So although Enterprise does require you to have a full UK driver's licence to be able to do our roles, because obviously there is driving involved for a car rental company, we do allow people that maybe cannot drive because of a physical or mental disability to still apply and go for the positions the same as everybody else. We'll make significant adjustments to make sure that people who cannot drive because of a disability are still encouraged to join our organisation. Again, something that Enterprise are very proud of is our promote from within culture. So we have a very American business model at Enterprise. We are an American company. And what that means is that every single person at Enterprise, bar a couple of very specialised roles like our legal and governance teams, start on the graduate management trainee programme. Exactly where I started, exactly where our CEO started, our head of sales, head of marketing, they all started as a grad trainee in our rental branches. And what that means is we do not offer any jobs to anybody externally for internal positions. So when you go for a job interview or a promotion at Enterprise, the only person that you are going to be competing against are people within that same area as you. So it's not like a lot of companies where you're maybe competing against hundreds of people for one role. I've been up for several promotions at Enterprise and I've never gone against more than 5 people. So it does mean that there are a lot more opportunities for progression and promotion. So as you can see here, last year, 20,000 team members across various positions were promoted or took on new challenges, which is a crazy number. I myself have had 6 promotions at my time in Enterprise, and I've only been with the company for just over 5 years. And that is very standard career progression for someone at Enterprise Mobility. So you're probably wanting to know a little bit more about what you actually would be expected to do on the management trainee programme. So our management trainee programme are all the same. They're all within our operational branches, so within that car rental space. I've got here 5 reasons to be a management trainee, but obviously I'd argue that there's definitely more than 5. But the first one is it provides you with a really broad business understanding. So I'm actually a psychology graduate. I have got no experience in business. I've got no experience in marketing, but enterprise was a really great fit for me because I wasn't 100% sure what it is that I wanted to do. So our management trainee program gives you that broad business understanding so that you can almost dip your toe into HR, into marketing, into sales, service management, all whilst working in that one rental branch. It's not physically rotational. And then when you've completed the graduate scheme, which takes roughly around 8 to 10 months to complete, it's not a set 1, 2 or 3 year grad scheme as you'll see most companies are. That is when you can decide where it is that you want your career to take you. So all of our graduate roles are full-time and permanent. You'll also find that a lot of companies, maybe you have to re-interview at the end of the graduate scheme, or it's not a guaranteed job. That is not the case at Enterprise. Everybody continues to work for the company once that graduate scheme has finished. And because we provide you with that broad business understanding, you can then almost work out where your passion, where your skill set is, and then you can take your career in that direction. So very much like what I did with marketing, I had no idea what marketing was. I thought you had to be very creative to be in marketing, but that is not the case at all. There was lots of different kinds, and I didn't understand that or learn that until I went on the graduate scheme and learned about those different sides of marketing. So we'll provide you with a broad business understanding. We'll help you to develop professional skills. I'm just going to skip over this one because I do have a skills section in a moment that I want to touch on. Will help you grow relationships. And as I've said, it's much easier to do that at Enterprise because everyone that you meet will have started where you started. So there is that culture of understanding and empathy at Enterprise. But we give you a lot of opportunities to network, to grow your personal brand, whether that be virtual or in-person events with senior leaders across various departments. So we'll give you the opportunity to grow your relationships, not just with the people that you're working with in your immediate branch or area or region, but further afield as well. We understand at Enterprise that the adjustment to your first full-time graduate position can be a really daunting experience. It, for me, was the hardest adjustment I ever had to make. It made university seem like a real doddle, to be honest. So we do provide you with an excellent support system at Enterprise. So not only are you supported by the people that work in your branch, and just remember as well that you will join at the same time, if not a couple of months staggered with people as well. So you're not going to be the newest person in that branch by years and years. You will have someone that has started either in the same month as you or within that same year as well. So you'll get support from them too. But alongside that, we also have a mentoring program as well that you can opt on to. So that is when you are buddied up with a mentor, again, that works in Enterprise, maybe in a different department, that will help provide you that support that maybe your branch, you feel that you can't get from your branch, or you want an outsider's perspective as well. And finally, get rewarded. So we've got a really great salary and bonus scheme at Enterprise. So your base salary is 28k. But you do earn additional bonuses alongside of that as well for things like your sales performance, your customer service performance, marketing. So essentially those core areas of the business. So you normally find that you earn more so around that 30k mark in your first year, but it is uncapped earning potential. And it's not a commission-based role as well. So although there are KPIs and performance matrix and things like that, you don't have to hit a certain number to earn additional money. There are lots of different ways to earn bonuses. So this, again, we spoke about that promote from within culture, but this graphic just explains it a little bit nicer. So as you can see, everyone starts at the bottom as a management trainee. If you want to continue management and continue in the operations side, you can continue to go all the way up to VP, general manager if you want. Or if you're like me and you want to get as far as possible from working with customers after a decade of working with customers, you maybe want to sidestep out and specialise in a particular area. So we've got a couple of examples on the screen there of HR, B2B sales, vehicle repair management, risk. But as I said at the start, we're the world's largest transport company. So the options for different departments for you to specialise in are so many. And there's still a lot of departments that even I'm not aware of even existed in my time at Enterprise. So there's so many different opportunities. And I wouldn't be doing my job well if I didn't mention this slide here. So we've had an incredible year at Enterprise in the graduate and the placement space. So Again, not so relevant for those on the call. I'm guessing that a lot of you have either done your placement already or are graduating, but I can't not mention it. Rate My Placement voted us Best Student Employer, first place for the UK. So what that means, that of every single employer in the UK that offers a placement programme, Enterprise were voted #1, which is incredible. And again, probably more relevant to the people listening today, but Target Jobs, who hopefully you've heard of, it's a job search engine, voted us Graduate Employer of the Year award. So again, what that means is that of every single company in the UK that offers a graduate scheme, Enterprise were voted #1. So hopefully that helps to put some weight behind what I've been saying today, and that we do provide an excellent programme at Enterprise. And that has been voted not only by one of the UK's largest search engines, but also that is based on the reviews of people that have done that graduate programme with us. So I want to really briefly chat through the application process. It'll be super quick because we don't have a large application process. So the first thing is an online application. Then, if providing that you have customer service experience and a full UK driver's licence, you'll be invited to a virtual interview. So that is with a recruiter who, remember, will have been on the graduate scheme like yourself. And that's 30 to 45 minutes on Teams, focusing on competency-based questions. And then finally, a branch visit. So that is where you will get to go to a branch in the area that it is you've applied for a couple of hours to get a feel for the role, meet the team. And this is as much of an opportunity for you to assess if we are going to be a good fit for you, as much as we are assessing if you're a good fit for us. So this is a really unique opportunity that will help you to see if you feel like you'll be a good fit there. And that's it. No assessment centres, no psychometric testing, none of that, just a really simple 3-step process. And finally, I just want to focus very quickly on the skills that not only we assess against at Enterprise through the interview and application process, but also the skills that we will help you to develop. Again, we're a graduate programme, so we understand that a lot of you are not going to be the full package, you're not going to have had lots of experience, you will still have some development and personal and professional development to do, but that is what we're there to help you with. But throughout our interview and application process, you need to be able to demonstrate that you have some understanding of these skills and how you have achieved them throughout your time at university or work. So the first one obviously is communication. We work with customers, you've got to be able to communicate with them. As I've said before, you will have to have some form of customer service experience. That might be retail, hospitality. We don't expect you to have any marketing or sales experience to apply for Enterprise. Again, that's something we will help you develop. But if you do have any sales experience, so if you have ever worked in a coffee shop and you've got to upsell a croissant with a particular type of coffee, or you've got to sell specialty coffees, that is all great sales experience. It doesn't have to be that you've been on a phone doing telesales. Again, this is a graduate programme, so we're expecting you to have good time management, problem solving and adaptability, so those more soft skills. Something maybe more specific to Enterprise is we do require you to showcase some form of leadership. Again, this is a progressional programme. We want to keep you on after that graduate scheme and promote you to higher management. So you need to demonstrate that you've been a leader, whether that be a team leader at work, group work at university, sports teams, societies, anything where you've demonstrated that you've managed to lead a team. And finally, maybe more so specific to Enterprise, is emotional intelligence. So again, I mentioned that insurance space at the very start. We sometimes have to deal with customers that have been through some very challenging situations. They've maybe had a bad accident, they've maybe broke down at the side of the road with a young child in the car, and they've been waiting for hours for the AA to come and rescue them and bring them into us. So we do sometimes have to deal with customers that have been through a challenging circumstance. So we'll probably ask you that in the interview, you know, can you tell us about a time you've dealt with a difficult customer? What was your response? To try and draw out that answer of emotional intelligence. So that is a real whistle stop tour. I'm exactly on time, 1 minute before my end, but I just want to pop our socials on there. Please do connect with me on LinkedIn as well if you've got any follow-up questions, but also please do use that Q&A chat function to pop some questions in there. I'm more than happy to sit and answer some of them that do come through. Our YouTube is an amazing space. We've got a lot of great videos on there to do with interview tips, CV building, assessment centres. So please do have a look at those as well. And our Instagram is a great space to find out what we've been doing in the local market and in our communities as well. So please do have a look on there. And that is everything from me. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll pass you back over to Paul.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Louise. I've learned so much there. Vans, submarines, exotic cars, a getaway car. Enterprise seemingly do it all, but really good as well to kind of see a focus on diversity inclusion there within the talk. So thank you so much for that. A really great overview, Louise. And I say without further ado, we're going to move on to our second kind of employer now. So very much a different flavour, I guess, as we go over to Teach First. And really pleased to welcome Joanna, who's an early talent officer there, to talk us through what they do and what's available for recent graduates. So over to you, Joanna.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you, CXK, for inviting me. My name is Joanna, and I am an early talent officer at Teach First. So my role is to work with incoming trainees onto our program from once they receive their offer up until the Summer Institute, but I'll kind of jump into that a little bit later, because today I'll be taking you through the who Teach First are, why we exist, and how we're working to create a fair education for all. You'll also learn about how you can get involved through our graduate scheme and really kickstart your career while changing the lives of children who need it the most. As mentioned, I'm sure throughout this presentation, there is a Q&A function, so please ask any questions there throughout, and following this presentation, I'll be sticking around to answer any queries. So firstly, who are Teach First and why do we exist? Well, we are an educational charity and we are working towards building a fair education for all, because right now in the UK, education just isn't fair across the board. The difference in attainment between the rich and poor is growing. In fact, a child from a more disadvantaged background is already 18 months behind their wealthier peers when they go to take their GCSEs. Here at Teach First, we believe a child's background shouldn't determine what they achieve in life, but more often than not, we are finding that a child's postcode and a child's parents' wealth is a greater determinancy of their success, and this just shouldn't be the case. This slow start in life can last a lifetime, widening the social inequality that's only increased even more due to COVID. So to give you a clearer picture of what this looks like, I'd like to quickly walk you through a few statistics. Some you might find quite surprising, but really kind of outline why we are doing this work. So the first statistic I wanted to highlight is that 26% of children facing disadvantage go to university. So that means 74% don't go to university. That's almost 3/4 of pupils from disadvantaged backgrounds whose job opportunities have already been reduced, which creates a knock-on effect that will impact multiple aspects of their life. And when we compare that to 85% of students from independent schools who go to university, you can see how the inequality gap just keeps widening. My next statistic I also just wanted to highlight was that 4% of doctors come from working class backgrounds. So that means that we have 96% of doctors from privileged backgrounds who are very likely to be serving communities that they might not fully understand the social, economic or cultural challenges that these communities face. This can lead to misunderstandings, ineffective treatment approaches, among many other challenges and impacts. So you can really see how providing that high quality education to communities that need it the most is so important, not just for the individual, but for everyone involved and the communities involved as well. So listening to these statistics, you might be wondering what you can do or how does this affect you? I'm sure you're sitting here thinking about your graduate job and how you're going to start to shape your career. And I know there are so many options, but what will you factor into the decisions you make? Are you looking for a graduate job that is a part of shaping a better future for yourself and also for the next generation? If so, then Teach First could be for you. And it's our training program, which is our graduate scheme, that is at the heart of what we do. Through this program, we develop inspiring leaders who will make the changes that need to happen, and together we can build a better future for everyone. Which leads me to our graduate scheme, our training program, where over the 2 years you will train, work and qualify as a full-time salaried teacher in one of our partner schools. These partner schools are all across England, potentially in your communities that face the biggest challenges, which means you can immediately make an impact where it's needed the most. One of the key benefits of joining the program is that it provides a real professional challenge from day one. So This isn't a graduate opportunity that will see you repeating the same tasks day in and day out. You'll be leading your own classes from the beginning, which comes with real accountability and real decision-making power. Those who have completed the program consistently tell us this is one of the most exciting elements and has really enabled them to stand out amongst their peers. For example, on our program, you get in the first 6 weeks, you get more experience within the classroom than you do through like a university-led PGCE or postgraduate certificate in education. So it's very hands-on and you develop really, really quickly. But there are lots of benefits to join our program, and I'll just run through them with you now. So as mentioned, over the 2-year program, you train, work and qualify as a full-time salaried teacher, which means you gain a salary from day one, and the PGCE qualification is fully funded. So PGCE, sorry if I keep saying that, it's postgraduate certificate in education. So that means there are no fees attached to that PGCE. So you come out after the 2 years with 2 years of in-class experience, a PGCE that's been fully paid for by us, and also, things like your pension being paid into and just, having that experience as well. So you achieve the qualified teacher status after your first year. And because you get your qualified teacher status after your first year, you also get a pay rise with that going into your second year, because you start in your first year as an unqualified teacher and then in your second year as a qualified teacher. As mentioned, you develop really rapidly on the program with the help and support of coaching, world-class training and mentoring. You'll get support from us through a dedicated contact at Teach First, known as a development lead, or DL for short, a dedicated mentor within the school, and gain access to a network of over 18,000 people who have completed the training program. You will gain not only great teaching skills, but also the transferable leadership skills such as communication, public speaking, resilience, planning and organising, and more. And these skills are highly valued by employers across all industries as well as schools. And we know this because we offer connections to our corporate partners such as Accenture, Goldman Sachs, and more. And I'll jump into that a little bit later. So just to mention the support available on our program, because we know stepping inside the classroom and leading a classroom from day one can seem really daunting, but I want to reassure you that the program is set up for you to succeed. So as you can see on the slide, we have 3 main supports. So firstly, there's the in-school mentor, who will be an employee of the school, and they're there to support you every day in the classroom. And from speaking with people who've done the program, so we call them ambassadors, they're our alumni. So speaking with ambassadors, the in-school mentor is the support person that they have leaned on the most, because they are there every day with you, supporting you every day, and they are employees of the school. Also, there are 2 representatives of Teach First that I just want to highlight. So you've got your development lead, or DL, as I mentioned before, or practice development lead, and also a subject development lead. So both are experienced ex-teachers, and they're both employees of Teach First. Your development lead is your main point of contact from Teach First, who will check in with you regularly. They will ensure that you're on track to achieving your goals, and also act as a mediator or a support person if required within your school. You've also got your subject development lead, who will support you with all your subject related matters. And that includes the theory side of things, the PGCE side of things, as well as leading training days. So you'll have time outside of the classroom that we dedicate to training you throughout the program as well. So how you can get involved, well, it starts with an online application, which you can access via our website. And when you open an application, one of our dedicated recruiters will reach out to you via a phone call and offer support and tips with your application. I do encourage you to take these calls, as candidates that do are more likely to succeed to the next stage. Our application is entirely competency-based, which gives you the opportunity to demonstrate key competencies like problem solving, resilience and communication. You'll also be asked to complete a situational judgment test, which is a chance for you to show us how you would respond to various scenarios that you are likely to face in school. I also just want to quickly highlight with the application, in school or in classroom experience is not necessary. You can draw draw examples from various different aspects of your life, whether it be work or personal as well. So if you are successful in your application, you'll be then invited to one of our selection days. We also call these development centres. They take place virtually and in person. So it's completely up to you which one you want to decide, which option works better for you, whether it's virtually or in person. Our in-person ones are in London, in our head office as well. A week before your selection day, we will send you further information to ensure that you're properly prepared, as well as a call with a recruitment officer to run through what to expect. We also offer workshops for our development centres or our selection days, just to kind of support you to ensure that you have the best chance of succeeding. All the support that we provide is bespoke, because it is set up to help you succeed. And if you are successful, you'll be made an offer to join us on the program. And so once you received your offer, you'll then need to complete all your onboarding tasks and get ready for Summer Institute. And that's also when an early talent officer like myself becomes your main point of contact. And my role is to ensure that you're properly supported before you start that training, that all your questions are answered, that you have all the most up-to-date information, and that you're ready and raring to go for your training. The training is the Summer Institute, which is training into the theory of the practice of teaching, that will get you ready to go day one in the classroom. This training is developed in partnership with the UK's leading teacher training universities and gives you the skills and knowledge that you need to enter the classroom and find your feet. Then you'll start in school as a fully salaried, unqualified teacher on a reduced timetable. You'll start at about an 80% of the timetable, and that's just to get you used to, all your extra tasks, the admin side of things, planning for lessons, and also kind of, all the marking and everything else that goes with becoming a teacher alongside the actual act of teaching. So you'll have the responsibilities of a full-time teacher with real lessons and real pupils. Like I mentioned, we don't expect you to be a fully polished teacher at this point. You'll be an unqualified teacher, and we are there to support you every step of the way with the development lead and also the subject development lead and your in-school mentor, as mentioned already. Also including regular training days as well. At the end of your first year, as mentioned, you'll gain your qualified teacher status, and this is when you'll get your pay rise. You'll also gain your postgraduate certificate in education, and you'll begin your first ever 6 weeks of summer holidays. So you may want to spend this time relaxing, or you may want to try your hand at one of our summer projects. Our summer projects are paid internships that are exclusive to Teach First for our communities of trainees and ambassadors. Ambassadors are our alumni who have done the program. They take place during August each summer and range from a wide range of different organisations and sectors. They help to develop transferable skills, and many have led to permanent employment following the training program, which is one of the elements of the vast professional network available to you through Teach First. And I'll kind of talk about the summer projects in a bit more detail a little bit later on. After summer, you begin your second year on the program and will return to the same school as a newly qualified teacher with the same amount of support available to you as you had in your first year. And by the end of the second year, you'll have completed the training program and you'll become a Teach First ambassador. So after the program, many of our ambassadors do progress into senior leadership positions, which is something we actively encourage through our dedicated school leadership programs, which are designed specifically to support and accelerate your progression into leadership roles. In fact, our teachers are 7 times more likely to be in senior leadership positions in schools than those who have taken other routes into teaching. And as you can see on the slide, out of our 18,000 alumni, so we've been running for 20 years, so we have had around 18,000 people who've done the program. We now have 140 who are head teachers, over 2,100 in senior leadership roles in schools, and 62% who are still teachers are still teaching in low-income areas where they are needed the most, which is a statistic we're really proud of to showcase. So just talking a bit more about our ambassador network, because they don't just contain teachers. Many people go on to lots of different things after the program. Our ambassador network contains a great mixture of different professionals, from civil servants, journalists, entrepreneurs, business leaders, and more. And where they continue their work to help us build a fair education for all by connecting schools to powerful communities of support. It also shows the support that you will get with Teach First to progress your career in whatever route you decide to take. So the training program doesn't pigeonhole you just into education. There's lots of opportunities available to you that are exclusive to our trainees and also our ambassadors. For example, I just want to highlight Cyrus that you can see on the screen. He did the program in 2014, and following the program, he went on to do a summer project at Accenture. That summer project turned into a job offer, and since then he has progressed into a management level position. He's also a school governor and manages the Teach First Ambassador Network at Accenture. So you can see he's still continuing to make changes outside of the classroom. So I was talking about all our partners that we work with. So just want to take this slide just to quickly speak about the companies that we do work with to make a difference to the children of young people. But not only do they recognise but they also recognise the high calibre of our trainees, which is why they offer summer projects that are exclusive to us. So as you can see on the screen, it's not just one sector. We work with a range of different sectors, and they each provide summer projects to our trainees and also our ambassadors. So the summer projects are not just available to you while you're on the program, but throughout your whole career once you become an ambassador. So that comes to the end of this presentation. So thank you so much for listening, because you've heard a lot about who Teach First are, why we exist and what we're trying to achieve and why it's so important. You've heard about what you will gain from being a part and how to apply. We are now open for applications, and we fill places on a first come, first serve basis. So applications for 2024 will close on November 28th, which is only just a few weeks away, but they will reopen on January 6th. The reason for the 6-week closure is that when a subject or region is full, we close it. So December will give our allocation team time to determine what subjects and regions will be fully closed in 2025, meaning we won't be accepting applications for all subjects and regions. So I want to emphasize the importance of applying early. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. As I mentioned, I will stick around, answer any questions on the Q&A function if you have any. So please feel free to ask anything.
Fantastic, Joanna. Really appreciate that summary of Teach First there. Very comprehensive and great to see also about those summer projects that people can get involved with as well. So a lot of variety on offer. So just a quick reminder as well, and Joanna did mention it just then about the Q&A. We've had over 30 questions answered so far, so please do pop those in. As say, all our speakers will be addressing those after their talk. And yeah, so we'll move on to the third now of our 4 employers. And it's a man I know all too well, but that's a story for another day. I'm really delighted we've got Andrew Bardry here from PwC, and Andrew's the Senior Manager for Talent Acquisition in their Early Careers department within the business. So yeah, without further ado, the virtual stage is over to you, Andrew.
It's great to be here. As Paul said, I'm Senior Manager. I've been at PwC for a long time. That's one of the reasons I know Paul. And I'm just going to talk to you a little bit today about various things connected with PwC and our opportunities. So what am I going to cover? I'm going to talk a bit about our selection process. I'm going to talk a bit about the skills we look for. I'm going to give you a few hints and tips about the selection process as well. I'm also going to touch on something that I know lots and lots of people are talking about, not just in the early careers market, but beyond that as well. I'm going to talk a bit about Gen AI and how we use it at PwC, and also some guidance around our selection process and the use as well. I appreciate all employers will have a slightly different approach, but I want to just share with you some thoughts from PwC. And then finally, I'm going to talk a bit about our opportunities as well. So some of you may have some awareness of PwC, who we are and what we do. Just a quick overview. We're a large organisation. So I'm based out of our Manchester office, but we have 19 offices across the UK. We employ just over 25,000 people across the UK. We also have global presence. We're not one firm who operates globally. We are a network of firms. So what do I mean by that? I work for PwC in the UK. We operate in a slightly different way and independently from the likes of PwC in the US or PwC in India or PwC in Australia. But we have this really, really strong kind of network connection. What does that mean for individuals who come work for PwC? What it means is there's every opportunity that you could potentially undertake a secondment within a different country at some point in your career as well. So anybody who's interested in working beyond the UK and outside of the UK at some point in the future, working for an organisation that has that global network can certainly offer that. What do we do and what services do we offer? I think when it comes to talking about PwC, people say, you're an accountancy firm. We say, yes, we are, but we do far more than that. Sometimes people say to us, well, I hear you're a professional services firm, which is typically the term that we use when we describe what we do. And when we use that term, sometimes people look at us blankly and think, I don't really know what that means. Can you explain it? So I think the easiest way to describe it is that we provide a range of services to clients. And our clients are companies of all different shapes and sizes from across different industries, from across different sectors. And we aim to improve the way they do business. And by doing that, we offer a range of services that you can see on the circle on the right-hand side. I won't touch on all of these because that'll probably take my whole time and beyond, but we do offer audit or accountancy services, some of the traditional services as well, like we offer tax services as well, but we offer a whole host of other services to organisations as well. We offer legal services as well, so you could join PwC and ultimately train up and become a solicitor. But we also recruit lots of people who go in and perform some fantastic things in the technology space as well. When I first joined PwC, I was typically surrounded by accountants and tax consultants. Now I'm surrounded by people who do lots of fantastic things within that kind of business scope. And it just shows over the last 20 years, we've had to really evolve as an organisation. 15, 20 years ago, CEOs of clients that we work with, we weren't really that concerned about cybersecurity or kind of handling big data in the way that they are now. So as the economy, as the world has changed, we've had to evolve as an organisation as well. And that means that we've diversified the services that we offer to organisations to ultimately improve the way they do business. Okay. What do you need to do if you are interested in a position at PwC? So first of all, even though we are an accountancy, consultancy, business, professional services firm, call us what you want, we do recruit students from any discipline at all. So regardless of what you're studying, and I've come across so many great stories of individuals who've come and had great careers at PwC from really different backgrounds. So don't worry about the subject of study. We also don't ask you to achieve a 2-1 as part of the criteria that we use. And a number of years ago, we dropped our UCAS requirements as well. You do need to be on target to pass your degree to join PwC, so I'll just point that out on our graduate or undergraduate programme, but you no longer require a 2-1 and you can join us with any degree subject. So how do you apply? You don't typically need a CV or covering letter. We would ask you to complete our online application form. So you would need to go on our website, look at what roles we have available. You can only apply to one particular role. So you do have to choose the role that you feel is right for you in terms of the business area, and you do have to select the particular office that you want to choose as well. So we do have quite a lot of choice. I appreciate some people that can be that can be quite a difficult choice as well. But I think with lots of research, hopefully you can understand and work out what is best for you. Once you've completed your online application form, you would then be asked to undertake an online assessment. So there are a range of cognitive and behavioural assessments that you would be asked to do. If you were successful at that, you would then complete a recorded video interview. And again, there is flexibility around the time that you can actually complete this rather than being given a specific time to do it. If you're successful with that, you would then come to a half-day virtual assessment centre. And then finally, for most of our roles, but for all of our graduate roles and some of our undergraduate roles, you would come into the office that you've applied for and you would have a senior in-person interview. Okay, so that's the end-to-end process at PwC. A common question that we get is around what skills do we look for? I appreciate there's quite a bit on this slide, and again, I could probably spend 15 minutes talking through this, but what I will reinforce is this information that I'm going through now is available on our careers website. So feel free to grab a screenshot of it or whatever you'd like. However, simply go to our careers website, look for the skills we look for, and you will find this information plus a lot more. I think the one thing I'll really reinforce, we very much look at an individual's potential. We moved away from some of the traditional competency-based recruitment and questions, which typically would be, give me an example of when you've demonstrated this skill. And we've moved to something that focuses more on an individual's potential. And part of the reason we've done that is because we feel that offers a more level playing field when it comes to recruitment. We've adopted a new model of what we call the PwC Professional. So the PwC Professional is a set of attributes that we look at when we're recruiting, but it's also something that I would be, as an employee of PwC, I would be measured against as part of my annual performance. And I think the two key things to really reinforce here is we look at one, what you achieve. So if during the assessment process, you would be given a situation, a scenario that you would be likely to face as a graduate at PwC. So it would be a hypothetical business situation, and you would be asked what recommendations you would make. So I think there's two things. I think one, yes, it's really important that you get to the right outcome, but two, when you're getting to that outcome, it's really important for you to consider the behaviours you display in getting to that point. Some of the assessments that you would do as part of the assessment centre at PwC would be done in a group, and it's really important you think about how you behave as part of that team and group situation as well. So don't just think about the end result, think about the behaviours you display to get to the end result as well, would be my advice. Some hints and tips as well about to prepare for any assessment, and I would say this wouldn't just apply to PwC. I would say regardless of the role you were applying for, regardless of the organisation, the sector, the industry, you'll probably find there's quite a lot of commonalities when it comes to the selection process, recruitment processes that organisations use. And I'll just cover some of these as well. I would definitely take every opportunity to look at any practice assessments that might be available. You'll see at the bottom there's a QR code, and we have something called our Employability Hub that's free to access, again, on our careers website. And within our Employability Hub, we have some interactive e-learns that allow you to prepare for each stage of the process. And included in our online assessments e-learn, we have a number of practice online assessments that you can undertake to help you prepare for when you actually come to take the real assessment. So any kind of practice materials, examples, anything that you can use, I would definitely recommend you do that before you actually undertook any assessments that you would take with the organisation that you've applied for. I think reflect on your experiences, think about why you think you're right for the role. It's really, really important. I know this is a very kind of traditional hint and tip, but do your research on the organisation you've applied to and also the role that you've applied for. You'll have seen from one of the earlier slides, which had the big circle on, that we offer lots of different roles. And it's really, really important. If you've applied for a role in audit at PwC or a role in tax, you'll get asked a question around why you've chosen that role, what research that you've done and why you've chosen that role. Now, we don't need you to know absolutely everything about audit. We don't expect you to be the finished product. We don't expect you to have a full range of technical, in-depth knowledge. We will provide that as part of our training throughout the graduate programme, but we certainly expect you to have done some research and for you to have really thought about, okay, well, why do I feel my skills, does my potential match what this role will offer? So do your research. I know it can take time. I know it's not the most fun and the most exciting thing to do of an evening or of an afternoon, but it is still really, really important nonetheless. Just on the day of any assessments that you do, again, some kind of practical hints and tips as well. Just make sure you arrive on time. Arrive early would be my advice as well, just in case you have any kind of tech issues if you're doing anything virtually. Try and ensure that you're free from distractions as well. So if you're living in some shared accommodation, make sure you haven't got one of your housemates walking through behind you and potentially distracting you as well, or potentially distracting the assessor as well. It's really important that you stay focused throughout that time, and do look to try and build rapport with other people that you come across as part of that. That might be the interviewer. It also might be people who you're working with as part of the group exercise. I think quite a common mistake is that individuals think if they're doing a group activity as part of an assessment, they might feel that it's really important for them to be seen to shine over and above everybody else. I think typically at PwC, we're looking to see how well you interact as part of a group, and how well you work with other people, because working in teams, working on projects of teams is really, really important at PwC. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the use of Gen AI in the application process. And we, like many other early careers recruiters, we see lots and lots of data and reports around, how frequently students are using the likes of ChatGPT in their everyday lives and what their expectations are from employers. We have a sort of fairly hard and fast rule in that during our selection process, we don't allow applicants to use Gen AI during our process. And there's two reasons for that. Some people might think, oh gosh, PwC doesn't seem a very tech-enabled firm, but let me come to that one in a second. There's two reasons why we don't allow it. The first reason is we really want to ensure that when somebody provides us with a response, for example, during an interview, we want to ensure that there's real kind of substance and thought behind that response rather than what ChatGPT has told them. We will typically follow that up. Any question that we ask at interview, we'll typically follow that up with some prompt questions. And again, it's really important for you to have your own kind of thought process behind the conclusion or the answer that you've given us. I think point two is really, really important as well. We are well aware that paid versions of ChatGPT are far more advanced than the free versions. And social mobility is really, really important for us. We want to ensure that when applicants are applying to PwC, there is a level playing field. And therefore, we want to ensure that individuals who aren't in a position to afford or pay for the paid versions of ChatGPT aren't disadvantaged in any way. So I think two really, really important things to consider, and that's what's determined our approach. I think the one thing I will add, in case anybody's thinking, well, PwC don't feel particularly tech-enabled, we use our own version of ChatGPT every day. So we have developed our own version internally called Chat PwC, and it is available to all 25,000 people across the UK. I've had to undergo some training to get a license. It's a fantastic tool. I don't have to pay anything to access it and use it. Do I use it every day? Probably don't use it every day, if I'm honest, but I certainly use it every week. And I find that really, really useful. So we're definitely tech enabled. We definitely use it as part of our day jobs, but there are reasons why we don't allow students to use it during our selection process. We have different entry routes, so we have different officers, we have different business areas, we also have different programs as well. So we have our graduate programs. So if you're in your final year or you've graduated, then you should be looking at one of our graduate programs, or if you're undertaking a postgrad qualification. For anyone in their first year, we have some diversity and business programs. We also have a small number of placement programs. So if anybody is currently in their second year and has to do a year in industry as part of their degree, we also offer a placement program too. And then finally, for penultimate students who are looking to do a summer placement, for penultimate year students, we run typically a 4-week program, but some of the internships that we offer are 6 and 8 weeks. So all these programs are paid programs. Even the diversity and business program for first years, which is 3 days, it is a paid program. And there is an application in process, which I touched on earlier, in order to achieve one of these, a place on one of these programmes. We opened our applications on the 23rd of September, so we've been open. We've been open for quite a while. We have received quite a high number of applications this year, and we've been doing quite a lot of virtual and in-person marketing activity as well to promote our roles. We are still recruiting, but some of the roles have already been filled. But we still have roles available for across all of these programmes that I've mentioned. I talked a little bit about this before. We've got the Employability Hub, which is great. As part of the Employability Hub as well, we've developed something new for this year. So we've included on there, you can't see it on the screen, but it's called Audit, Give It a Go. So audit is the largest area that we recruit into at PwC. So the majority of our undergraduate and graduate roles are within audit. So we've developed an interactive challenge which is called Audit, Give It a Go, which you can find on our Employability Hub, which is designed to give individuals who are interested or thinking about audit or have applied to audit more of an insight into what that entails and what that involves. And hopefully that will really help you at a later point during your application when you will get that question to say, tell me why you've applied to audit and tell me what you understand about audit. So hopefully we hope that's a really useful resource for you pre and during your application. Okay, I realised I've got through quite a bit there. I will just say there's lots of different ways to follow us. Like lots of other employers, we have our early careers social media channels as well. Again, the best things to do to kind of stay abreast of what's happening at PwC, I would, if you're interested in potentially a career with us in future, definitely follow our social media channels. Obviously, you can see that's a range. We also have something called our talent community. And again, by scanning the QR code or just going onto our careers website, you can sign up to our talent community. And by doing that, signing up to our talent community is essentially you're signing up to our mailing list, and we will keep you updated with events, with new opportunities that come about throughout the year, with other resources and activities that we think will be beneficial to you. If at any point you would like to be removed from unsubscribe and come off the mailing list for our talent community, you can do that at any time. But it's a great way of keeping in touch with PwC and yeah, understanding more about kind of the latest developments for us. As I said, I appreciate I've gone through quite a bit there. I will definitely hang around to take some questions on the Q&A as well. So please pop your questions on the Q&A, and I will certainly spend some time trying to get through all of those. So thank you very much. I hope you found that useful. And Paul, good to see you.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Yeah, a pleasure as always, and really good to hear about the wide variety and breadth of what PwC do. And you maybe never thought in your wildest dreams you could work, in the USA or Australia perhaps, but really good to see that that's a longer term career option with something like PwC. So thank you. Yeah, again, Andrew, a very comprehensive summary. I think got quite a few questions posed to you in the chat. So again, thank you for covering those now. So we're moving to the fourth and final of our sort of employer presentations now. So I'm going to hand over to Melanie Payne and Claire Connor. They're here from the RSA group. So without further ado, over to you both. Thank you.
We're from RSA. This is the Royal Sun Alliance. We're an insurance business. We're one of the world's longest serving insurance companies. We've been at the heart of the industry for more than 300 years, so we kind of know a thing or two about what we're doing. And we know, that we've got a fantastic business where many of you can come along and build, a great career with us. So our early careers provision and programme and strategy is called Bright Futures. Bright Futures is a programme that's designed to accelerate any of our interns, apprentices or graduates that come through our doors. We want to prepare our early careers talent to be our tomorrow's leaders. So we really want to make an impact in this space. We want this next generation to thrive. So just a little bit about how we go about recruiting, if you wouldn't mind moving us on, Mel. We use what we call a strengths-based assessment model. We really believe that, you know, this is the best way to kind of assess young people that come through the door, especially if you haven't got many sort of life experience or work experience yet. We don't see that as a problem at all. We use strengths to identify, you know, your unique talents and just the unique you. So unlike traditional assessments that focuses on, you know, potential weaknesses, we make sure that we, you know, identify and leverage your inherent strengths and positive qualities. And we firmly believe that all you need to do when you sort of come through our door is show up with the right character, the right attitude, and the right motivation, because we can teach you everything that you need to know in your future role with us. So hopefully you agree with that kind of method. And the reason why we focus on strengths is, as I already mentioned, it really focus on that positivity. We want you to have a positive experience when you walk through the door. So focusing on, you know, what your positive attributes are is only going to encourage and hopefully help you to have a good experience, and then it helps us with that evaluation process as well. Secondly, when we focus on strengths, it helps in terms of improved job satisfaction. So when you're employed based on the strengths model, aligning to that specific role, you will tend to be more engaged, hopefully more satisfied and more motivated to do your work. So that benefits you as the employee, but also us as the employer too. Thirdly, not only would you tend to enjoy your job more, but that usually leads to, you know, better performance, more productivity, and hopefully some more innovation that comes through. So again, you know, this just helps everybody in the process. Strengths-based assessment centres also give us a chance to identify like a range of talents from various backgrounds and cultures. So this helps us to create more of an inclusive work environment and make sure that our workforce represents, you know, the range of people that you see in public every single day. And finally, it means that we can sort of choose our early careers talents, you know, based on company alignment, so that you've got a better cultural fit. So your values align to our values too. That helps us to drive a real harmonious and productive workplace. And we want to make sure that we start that right at the beginning of the recruitment process, all the way through to when you potentially leave us.
Thanks, Claire. So now Claire shared with you what we looked through from our strengths-based exercises. I'm going to talk a bit more about what you could expect from an assessment centre following your application. So we appreciate that this can be a real daunting experience, and rest assured we want you to be at your best. So we do everything we can to make the environmental pleasing so that we get exactly that. So today I'm just going to talk you through some of the highlights of what you can expect to hopefully ease any nerves that you might have should you apply with us. So the first thing would be a group exercise. And as part of this, we'd look for you to demonstrate your strengths in teamwork, communication, and how you contribute positively to a group. Again, there's nothing there to trip you up. We want to see you at your best. So it is purely for you to demonstrate your strengths in that kind of environment. Next, you'd be asked to complete a case study, and this would be a real work-based problem. And here we'd be looking for you to showcase your unique qualities and how you come about creating innovative solutions to a problem. We'd then have the interview, and here you can discuss your strengths and how they align to the role that you were applying for. And then lastly, you may be asked to complete a presentation. And as part of these presentations, we usually connect them to the group exercise or the case study. And it's an opportunity for you to showcase how you communicate and how you convey the information from the various sessions. I'm going to talk now a bit about what you can expect from our assessors. So some of the practicalities of being in an assessment centre. So we'll start with the assessors. We know it can be daunting to think that there will be people in the room looking and judging you, but we want to ensure that you feel welcomed into a structured and supportive environment. We really do try and keep the sessions high energy so that you can bring your best self. And we do want to alleviate any nerves that you do have. So what you can expect from the assessors, typically there will be a combination of leaders, experienced employees, HR or the recruitment team members. They'll understand the qualities that are expected in an individual performing in the role that you've applied for. The role of the assessors will be to observe your behaviours and look out for your key strengths and qualities and matching them to the selected criteria. And then lastly, we look at value-aligned judgments. So at RSA, we also cross-reference the criteria to match our company values. And this helps us ensure that you will enjoy working in our culture and our working practices. So the values that we'd be looking to match you against are integrity, respect, being customer driven, having a generous spirit and excellence. And I'm just going to go through those in a bit more detail for you here. Okay, so the first one then, for any early careers perspective, we look at 5 main areas. The first one is, are you inquisitive and curious? And what we mean by that is, can you show us that you have an open and curious mindset? Do you ask the right questions to ensure you understand? Not only do you understand, but you can stretch that understanding by exploring the subject further. Once you have the understanding, do you have further ideas? Can you make new suggestions? Can you challenge ideas? And can you get others to see things from a different viewpoint? Can you challenge the status quo and disrupt others' thinking in a positive and professional way? So inquisitive and curious is one of the top 5. We then have collaboration. So for this, we'll look at finding our young people that have a collaborative spirit. Can you build positive relationships with others? Can you work with multiple people who might be very different to you in terms of age, demographic, ethnicity, seniority, or geography? People might be in different locations around the UK to where you're based, or even around the world, and we would want to see, are you a team player, and can you contribute towards the goal of the team and show your awareness of what others in the team's needs are? We then have adaptive and dynamic. So we'd like to make sure that our grads and apprenticeships are adaptable and dynamic. With a big organisation, there's always a lot of change, as you can expect. And we find that both exciting and challenging. And we'd need you to be able to move and adapt to new teams, new processes, new ways of working, new products, or even new management. So some of these things may be difficult to move through. Therefore, it's important that you can remain calm under pressure, deal with potentially challenging and changing situations. We then have proactive and customer driven. So the customer is at the heart of everything we do here at RSA. It's important we always think of their needs in a proactive manner. We want our people to take pride in achieving high quality outcomes and for our customers and clients, and that you think of them too in your daily actions. And then lastly, we have effective communication. So it's important that you can communicate clearly and confidently when interacting across the business. This includes being active listeners, asking all of the right questions at the right time, and being able to adjust your style to communication when necessary. So that just gives you a bit of a flavour as to what you can expect throughout the assessment centre. I'm just going to hand back to Claire now, who can talk you through more of the experience itself.
Yeah, so hopefully you get through that assessment process with flying colours, and you're able to join our business and join what we call our graduate experience. So we're now looking at the next year's cohort that's going to be joining us in September next year. So we're looking at the class of 2025. Just wanted to showcase that our graduate programme is a unique 3-year experience. We ensure that all graduates that join us have a full 3-year development planning process. process. And as I said at the start, it is designed to accelerate you through the business. So we are looking at our graduates, once they finish their 3-year programme, to be ready for the next step that we're expecting in the business. Within that 3 years, there are some really fantastic facilitated learning sessions within there. So we look at obviously developing you technically, but this is an all-round experience. So it's not just on your technical ability, you know, being able to do the job. It's actually much wider than that. So we look at kind of more of the behavioural aspects, things like being able to manage your stakeholders, being able to negotiate. It's all those extra sort of skills that we need you to have developed, ready for the next level. Within the programme, you have a dedicated business mentor. So this is someone that will stick by you throughout, not necessarily in the business area that you might sit in. So we want to give you wider exposure to people across the business, and that can also be like another sort of sounding board, and just someone that can help you with career guidance. We ensure that we integrate you into our wider Bright Futures community, so you get to meet all the other grads and apprentices, and we really work hard on ensuring that you formed like a special bond, because we think these are the people that you're going to grow up through the business with, so we want you to kind of work with them. So we host specific networking community events a couple of times a year. They're also, we typically tend to go to football clubs for these. It's normally where we can get big groups of you in, which is always, so they're always fun days. And then as part of our sort of giving back pledge to the communities that we work in, we mandate that every grad and apprentice completes 2 days per year doing some volunteering activity. So if you already do some volunteering stuff, you can actually go and do that within your working week. If you don't, but you've got causes or things that are really close to your heart, you have the opportunity to go out and do that. Otherwise, we all have volunteering days that we can take at RSA. So you'll often see lots of teams getting involved in different things all over the country, all in our communities. So it's a really nice way to ensure that you know, take that opportunity up and make an impact in the community that you work into. We wanted to highlight that obviously we are an insurance business, but we're going live with some of our graduate roles this week. The most of them will be up and ready on our jobs board. But I wanted to highlight that they're probably jobs that are going to go live that you might not expect. But starting off with our first ones, we have some graduate assistant underwriters based in London and Manchester that we're recruiting for. So typically and technically, you'll be supporting an experienced team of underwriters. You know, you'll have cases that you will be looking at, business opportunities for development. So these are always our really popular roles, and our grads also get to complete a degree level apprenticeship to get their insurance qualifications. And there isn't many young people in their 20s that actually have that level of insurance qualifications. So we set up all our grads with that. So sadly, it makes them very marketable as well, but we do our utmost to keep you. But there's some of our insurance roles. Moving into our more sort of technical areas now. So we have a lot of roles in what we call our CIO department. This is Chief Information Office. So a couple of them here, they'll be Manchester based, but these are our some grad data and AI analysts. So we're calling all technical people here. So there's lots of things around building and automating data processes, maintaining interactive dashboards. I should mention that all these roles, you get opportunities to rotate around different departments and different teams. So you could be going into doing some data science work, you could be going into visualization, it could be like straight up data analytics. We move you around so you get a breadth of experience, but we are recruiting heavily in Manchester for these roles. Going a little bit further down south, we have some DevOps and data engineers in our Horsham office that we're looking to bring in too. So again, this is more of a technical department, setting up and configuration, test environments, deployment of software applications, etc. Yeah, so we are desperately looking for those in that area. And then moving into a bit of a different type of role, again, you might not think would be in an insurance business, but these what we call our graduate partner managers. This is in our sales, distribution and broking team. So this is two fantastic roles based in London, supporting our operational sales and strategy. Within that role, the leaders there would really love you to undertake some regional sales coordination positions, and again, all these are, you get rotated around different departments and different areas, but essentially there'd be some opportunities to project manage and work with our brokers as well and work on tender processes. So some kind of diverse roles there that you might not expect necessarily in an insurance business, particularly the technical ones, but they will all be live on our jobs board this week, so look out for them. And in the coming weeks too, we also have opportunities for internships next summer as well, so they'll be up on our jobs board, and again they're likely to be in these roles. We will definitely have a huge number of actuarial interns that we're looking to recruit, so again, if you're maths or highly numerates, those could be the opportunities for you too. So thank you for giving us the chance to come and speak to you. Hopefully that was interesting, gives you a bit of a insight into our business, our culture and what we look for, but also the roles that we have available. And we're here for the next few minutes to answer any questions.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Melanie and Claire. Really appreciate your summary there of all things RSA. And that concludes this particular section of today's webinars. We've heard from, say, four of the four different employers that we had on the agenda today. So a slight gear change now as we are going to go to Dan Hawes, who's the co-founder and CMO of the Graduate Recruitment Bureau. Dan's going to talk about skills and the top 3 skills indeed that are in demand from employers. And so if you're ready for it, over to you, Dan.
There we are. Thank you very much, Paul. And thank you to RSA for their presentation. Looks great. Some awesome opportunities there for graduates. So I'm in the driving seat now for the next 20 to 30 minutes or so. I want to leave some time at the end for questions. I believe you will get a copy of the slides and it is being recorded. So anyone who has to duck out will be able to listen back to this. So I've been asked to talk about what employers want and how you as final year students or recent graduates can get noticed by them. So let's crack on. First of all, very quick introduction. My name's Dan Hawes. I'm co-founder of the GRB Group. Graduate Recruitment Bureau is the biggest division within the group, set up in February 1997. So you can imagine we've worked with thousands of students and graduates. We've placed over 11,000 in that time. And we've worked with over 2,500 very large recruiters, Fortune 500 companies, and also several fast-growing SMEs, the kind of companies that go under the radar for a lot of graduates. So we've got huge industry experience, a vast network, and a talent pool, which we've just hit, of 2 million school leavers, students, graduates, and experienced job seekers. So that's us. Here we go. First of all, I just want to have a quick look at the rear view mirror, and we can talk about the situation that graduates are in with the market at the moment. We'll touch on the skills that employers want from some of the research we've done and also external surveys. Then we'll talk about your plan, and hopefully there'll be time for some questions at the very end, which you can use in the chat function. So these are external factors affecting the economy and employment over the last 10 years or so. So we'll just quickly look in the rear view mirror. Brexit didn't help. The economy was affected. Everyone who was studying was either studying remotely. Businesses, supply chains were affected. Huge impact on the jobs market, and also for students, particularly during that period, it was extremely hard. So, that was 10 years ago, but we're still feeling the effects from Brexit. COVID, as I said there, that had a huge effect on the economy, particularly on mental health issues for young people. And the economy is still recovering from the effects of COVID. So many people out of work, a skill shortage, which is something to your advantage. but a lot of people were unfortunately forced out of the workforce, and employers are still recovering in some particular sectors. The war in Ukraine and recently in Palestine, obviously that has a huge effect on world politics, and some of it does trickle down into the UK economy. Politics, well, most recently we've had the budget by Rachel Reeves, which if you didn't watch it, had a huge effect on employers' national insurance contributions, which some are calling a tax on jobs. So we're waiting to see, let the dust settle, to see how many employers will either absorb this cost, accept reduced profits, maybe make cutbacks, maybe consider how they hire in the future. But I have to say, the budget has had a huge effect on the economy. And most recently, the change in government in America. Obviously, a huge number of firms that are headquartered in America also have bases in the UK. So we'll see, following a rally on the stock exchange, whether that is sustained and whether that will be actually good for the UK economy. And the final thing to mention is AI. So, it's a very hot topic with early careers recruiters right now. They're dealing with huge numbers of applications because a lot of graduates are using AI for their covering letters or CVs. And unfortunately, they're looking very, very similar. So we're hearing lots of reports from employers grappling with how to manage that response and make sure that the candidate experience isn't compromised. They're also experimenting with using AI to screen applicants. So this has really thrown a cat among the pigeons. We'll see how this does affect the market, but it has had a very early impact, and employers are probably working out whether there is a good return on their investment in this particular technology. But from the point of view of student and graduate job seekers, it's certainly very helpful. It's like an enhanced search engine to find more opportunities. Yes, it can help you with covering letters and things like that. If you're having a writer's block or you want to make sure that you're covering everything off in your CV. So it has its uses, but it can cause problems. So a real mixture there of different factors that are external, that we can not control, but are affecting the job market right now. Okay, so what do employers want? Well, we've done some research with our clients. We've also looked at external surveys, and particularly one that was recently published by the Institute of Student Employers. So they consist of some of the big name recruiters like RSA that you may have heard of. And they get together, they have various research projects and surveys, and being members, we are able to tap into this and have a good understanding of the particular market that we can then reflect back to the students and graduates who use our service. So we've looked at their survey, and we have a team here of 40 recruitment experts. They're talking to employers all the time, finding out what they're looking for. So we've had a good look, and we've shortlisted some of the top skills that employers are asking for right now. Now, these are very general. They will differ per role. So if an employer is looking for a computer programmer, that'll be very different to an employer looking for a sales executive, let's say. Okay, so there will be differences depending on the role. But these are the skills that a lot of employers are talking about when they speak to us, and from the research that we've looked at. So communication. The ability to convey thoughts clearly, politely, and informatively. This is so, so important. So we're talking about business communication, I guess, because a lot of employers, rightly or wrongly, assume that recent graduates will have some office experience, but that's not always the case. Certainly those that have studied through lockdown or haven't had the means or social mobility or contacts to have those internships or part-time roles, employers are finding that some recent graduates aren't work ready, in their words. And when they talk about that, a lot of the time they're talking about business communication. So it's very important, verbal and non-verbal communication in the workplace, and employers are talking about this a lot. So it's arguably one of the most essential transferable skills for graduates. I mean, this has come up over many, many years. because it encompasses the ability to convey ideas clearly, concisely and persuasively, as I say, both verbally and non-verbally. It's important because it's crucial in a variety of different professional settings, whether you're interacting with customers in retail, colleagues in an office, or clients in a corporate environment. So strong communication skills are indispensable. They'll help you build rapport, trust, resolve conflicts and misunderstandings, persuade and influence others, and collaborate effectively in teams. So how can you improve your communication skills? There's various things you can do. If you have some experience previously, many of you may have worked in shops, restaurants, bars, hotels, that kind of thing. Perfect examples of where you've used your communication skills. So you can enhance your communication abilities in the following ways. Being prepared, so take a few moments to organise your thoughts before meetings or presentations. Be honest, if you don't know the answer to a question, admit it and offer to find out. Simplicity, avoid jargon and complex language. Keep your message clear and concise. And also active listening, which is a really useful skill, paying full attention to the speaker, asking to clarify questions and also respond thoughtfully. You can significantly improve your communication skills and position yourselves for success in your chosen career if you can have a look at some of the skills you've already acquired and look for opportunities to develop those communication skills from now on. So very, very important. The second skill we are seeing a lot of employers are looking for is problem solving. So the ability to approach tasks and issues logically and analytically. Now, this may come naturally to a lot of you, it may not for others, but there are ways you can improve and present yourself as having evidence of your problem solving skills. So employers highly value individuals with strong problem solving abilities. This skill involves a systematic approach to identifying issues, developing effective solutions and implementing them successfully. So a robust problem solving process would typically include these steps: identifying the problem, clearly define the problem and its root cause first and foremost. Solution generation, brainstorm multiple potential solutions to the problem, and then evaluate those solutions. Are they feasible? Are they effective? And look at the potential consequences of each solution. Solution implementation, choose the best solution and then implement it. And then once you've done that, evaluate and reflect. Analyze the outcome of the solution and, most importantly, learn from that experience. So that's the general process we would share with students and graduates about how to address the problem solving issue. Now, you can apply this to lots of different situations while you're at university or in your workplace. So start to think along these lines and you will quickly generate some really good examples of your problem solving skills. By mastering this process, you can demonstrate your ability to think critically, make informed decisions and overcome challenges in the workplace. Super, super important. Okay, time management and being organized. So the ability to manage your time, that's fairly self-explanatory. So why is that important in the workplace? Most employers, regardless of industry, expect graduates to possess strong time management and organizational skills. Managing your time efficiently, coordinating tasks for others, scheduling meetings or setting deadlines. Certainly as a student, you will have many opportunities to do this with multiple coursework deadlines, part-time jobs, social commitments, and various other examples. If you can reflect on these experiences, you can identify strategies that have worked well for you and apply them to your professional life. I mean, this is probably one of the easiest ones to give examples for, because you know, everyone in our daily lives needs to manage our time in some way or another. It's giving really good examples, if you can, backed up by some sort of data. You know, you had various projects that you were juggling, various deadlines that you needed to meet. You had other external pressures coming in. Think of some good examples that you can use from your time at university. But what will really set you apart is other examples. So from the workplace, ideally, and even maybe extracurricular activities. If you've done work with societies or things like that, or any volunteering, are perfect ways to demonstrate your time management and being organised. So again, very, very important skill that employers really value right now. Teamwork, the ability to collaborate in a team environment to achieve a common goal. Again, we see lots of CVs and covering letters where graduates say, I'm a great team player. And that needs to be backed up with evidence in order to stand out. So how can you do that? Well, as I said, I work well in a team. It's a common cliche on CVs and covering letters. To truly highlight your teamwork abilities, focus on specific examples rather than generic statements. So consider these ways to showcase your skills. Group projects. Obviously, by their nature, it's a team project. You're working with other people. Discuss your contributions. That's the most important thing. What role did you play? Did you take on the role as a leader? Were you sharing the workload? Were you providing feedback? Were you dealing with people? Were you dealing with data or reports? What was your actual role? So start with that and how that contributed to the overall project. There's certainly the opportunity, again, with any part-time work that you've had, internships or placements, to highlight collaborative experiences. So, if you're working in a sales environment, which you may be, in a call center, or maybe in bars or restaurants, sometimes they have targets, things like that. You can give examples of where you've taken a role within a particular team and you've provided excellent customer service, for instance. There could be examples where you've received a certificate or a badge or something like that that demonstrates your teamwork. This doesn't always have to be about what you've done directly. It could be the way you've helped an individual in that team. That's just as important. If you've been able to work with someone that was struggling, perhaps you've been able to help them get up to speed or support them in some way. That's teamwork as well. Obviously, there's lots of extracurricular activity you could use as examples. Sport is one, but it's really important to think about your particular role and give examples that are specific to your role within that particular team. So as I said before, what was your responsibility? Did you lead and organize? Did you take charge of planning and coordinating tasks? Did you collaborate and communicate, work effectively with others? Did you solve problems or innovate? Did you communicate effectively? Is there a good example of that? So lots of reasons here that I'm whizzing through that you'll be able to revisit when you have a look at these slides. So teamwork, super important. Think about the opportunities that you've had so far to demonstrate this particular skill. Okay, your plan. What is in your control to become work ready and present your skills? Your homework is to, first of all, do a skills audit. Okay, so look at the gaps in your skill set for the roles you're applying for. So look at a job description. It will invariably list the skills they're looking for. Which ones have you got? Tick those off. Which ones don't you have? Then look at another job spec. Look at another job spec and look at the common thread of those kind of skills that maybe you don't have at the moment or you can do something about. So once you've identified those particular skills, you need to demonstrate them from existing experiences. So I've mentioned before, look at the opportunities to demonstrate this through your work experience. You need to think about your day-to-day tasks. Look at the job description again for what you actually did within that organization to remind you. And you'll be able to flesh out certain examples of skills that you picked up from work experience. Equally, volunteering externally with charities or things like that. Or while you've been at university, have you done anything with societies? Have you got involved at a Freshers' Fair event? Were you representing the society? Or did you organise a social event for the society? Or did you seek out sponsorship by approaching organisations? So there could be some good examples from your work with student societies. And finally, hobbies and sports. A lot of people will use these examples, but if you can demonstrate your skills with quantifiable evidence that will really help you stand out. I've only got 5 minutes left. Conscious of the time, we've only had 20 minutes. It's a very quick overview. I hope what I've provided today complements everything else that has already been spoken about so far. If I have missed anything, now is the opportunity to ask me a question in the chat. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Dan, for that excellent summary of all kinds of tips and advice there for recent graduates to think about related to their skills. And say appreciated. Might feel like extra work, but that kind of making that plan, doing that homework really kind of will help you guys at this point. So just before we move to the next session, just a reminder about the registration form. Please do fill it in. If you see a blank space, please do write your name, because that's how you get all the slides, the recordings, and kind of access to all the extra information from today. So yeah, just a reminder to fill in that registration form before the event ends. But we're into the sort of the final two sections now of today, and first up we're going to a university careers team. So as I mentioned at the start, kind of a AGCAS, we're supporting this event, and we're the Association of University Careers Teams, and great to have one here today being represented by Tom Davies, who's the Graduate Employability Officer at University of Leeds. And what Tom's going to talk about today is probably reflective of what a lot of university careers teams across the country can offer. So it doesn't really matter so much where you went to study. What Tom's going to talk about is kind of the kind of support that will be on offer. Yeah, without further ado, over to you, Tom.
Yes, as Paul said, my name's Tom Davis, and I'm Graduate Employability Officer at University of Leeds. I'm here just for 15 minutes or so to talk about accessing careers support from your University Careers Service as a graduate. So just to quickly give you a run through of what I'll be covering today. We'll be going through general support as a graduate that you can access as a graduate of any university. I'll be focusing on the University of Leeds purely just to give you an example, and because that's what I can tell you about with confidence. But I will be talking about how you can apply that to your university and get support from the university that you graduated from. So don't despair if you're not from the University of Leeds. Hopefully we do have some graduates from the University of Leeds here. But I will be talking about how you can apply that to your university and find out how to get support from them. I'll also be running through some sort of general useful resources that you can access separate from your university, and also just touching briefly on the Graduate Outcomes Survey as well. So the University of Leeds Careers Service, so we offer graduate support to all University of Leeds graduates. At the University of Leeds, support is actually available for as long as you need. Not every university has this. I think possibly our lifetime offer of career support is actually possibly quite unusual, but almost every university, in fact, when I say almost every university, I'm not aware of any universities off the top of my head, to be honest, where they don't give support to graduates. It might be that it's limited in terms of how often you can use it or how long you can use it for, but as far as I'm aware, every university you can access support as a graduate. So worth having a look at your University Career Services website to find out what the policy is. But yeah, if you take one thing away from this, go and have a look at what they offer and sort of get in touch with them. I saw just before I joined here, there was a question from someone about who was a mature learner, a mature graduate, and sort of is this information available and sort of relevant for them as well, and that they maybe felt that some of the sessions weren't. I can't speak for all the employers. I have been watching those, but I can't speak for them. But I would say with this, then definitely get in touch with your career service. You're a graduate in the same way that someone who's 21 and has just finished a degree is. I don't know whether you've just graduated or whether you've had a career break and you're looking to restart again, but do have a look at your career services website and find out if you can get in touch, particularly if you're a recent graduate. Then your age shouldn't make a difference, or your status as a mature learner shouldn't make a difference. So I just thought I'd clarify that as well. I happened to see that question shortly before I joined. As I said, the first place to look really is on your university's website. Dig out the career service page and see what it's saying about graduates. Almost everyone will have information about that, including how to get involved and what you can access. And they'll also have some just useful information generally. So Obviously, I was at the first talk with the National Career Service, giving some great information about CVs, and then Dan's talk just then with general advice. But as well as all the sort of formal support you can access, websites are often a useful treasure trove of good content around applications, interviews, researching careers, and that sort of thing. And I think it's worth flagging that different universities will have different things. There might be some graduate-focused activity. So at the University of Leeds, my job title is Graduate Employability Officer, and we do events aimed specifically at graduates and also resources that are tailored specifically to graduates. Some universities, a lot of universities now have someone in a similar sort of role to me, or someone who's got a graduate component to their role. But even if they don't have quite so much graduate focused stuff, you should also have access to all the standard things that you would have had as a student. So things like appointments, opportunities, resources, careers fairs while they're running. So it's not just about sort of try not to think of it too much as, oh, I'm a graduate now, and what's available to graduates, and think about the standard stuff that you would get as a student, and you should still be able to access that as a graduate. And then I've also just put up on there about social media as well. So our social media is Leeds Uni Careers. Obviously, I would recommend that in the first place, you try and follow your sort of own university's career service on social media. But I thought it was worth just flagging because that's obviously something that anyone can follow. Check out your university's careers, see what presence they've got. I think for a number of years now, sort of a lot of universities have had Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. But we're also seeing some university career services start to get involved on LinkedIn and even TikTok in some cases, I know. So whatever social media platforms you're on, follow your career services. If you're a job hunter at the moment, that's just a good way of getting employability related content onto your newsfeed, finding out about what's on offer and being able to get involved with things. And, although I would recommend your own university's career service as the first port of call, there's no reason that you can't follow other ones in the region or ones that you just think are particularly useful, because there might be some good tidbits being advertised through there that you can sort of find out from. So again, focusing specifically on Leeds for now, but with very much, you will be able to do this with your university as well. So My Career is the platform that we use for our students and graduates, and it's where we have events you can book on to, job opportunities that you can view and apply to, appointments, whether that's application support, CV, career planning, practice interviews, and also accessing resources. We call it My Career. There's a couple of screenshots there of what it looks like. The one for your university may or may not look like this. It may look very similar. It may have a very similar name. It may be a slightly different platform with some other sort of career related name. But generally speaking, it'll be a system that you were able to use as a student using a sort of single sign-on at university. And don't worry if you didn't use it as a student, because generally how it works is you can register as a graduate and then get online and access all that stuff. So again, have a look at your university's platform and how to get involved as a graduate and get signed up, and then you're sort of away from there. So moving away specifically from sort of the university, your sort of individual universities, I also just wanted to flag up AGCAS's career support. So AGCAS are also putting on this talk today, but it's not they're not separate to universities. So AGCAS is a membership organisation for careers professionals. So they're the experts in careers information and advice, and most careers staff at most universities and higher education institutions will be members of AGCAS. So they have partnerships with job sites like Prospects and Target Jobs, which you may have come across before, and I suspect if you've been listening carefully today, you'll have come across today, if not before. So there's loads and loads of online careers guidance resources there for both sort of pre-entry students at university, and also graduates. And there's so much information online there that you can access without having to formally engage. It's just open access websites and tools that you can use. And they say they're from academic librarian to zoologist. I mean, that's obviously they've gone from A to Z there, but I think it is worth flagging that they do have information on just about any sort of career that you would realistically be interested in. I'm sure there might be a couple of niche ones to catch us out. Won't be covered, but generally there is information on just about everything. And it's not necessarily just sort of the big corporate style careers. I think sometimes people, before they engage with career services or before they engage with things like this, think that that people are only interested in sort of, accountancy or the big sort of employers like Deloitte and PwC. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Obviously, we've heard from them, but it's just a flag that whether that's the sort of thing you're interested in or whether it's something a bit more niche, there will be information out there. And the good news about this is something that we genuinely push to students and graduates. When I'm working with students and graduates one-to-one, these are sites that I recommend to them a lot. I think the prospects ones are particularly useful. The job profiles and the what can I do with my degree sections in particular. So the job profiles, there's over 500 job profiles on there on prospects, which you can find very easily. They're just a great source of finding out a bit more information about particular jobs and particular career areas, but also finding sort of more specific information about them. So not just what the job is, but what qualifications might you need, what salary might you be able to expect, work experience, what sort of things would be useful to have before that. But also I really like the vacancy sources section as well. So let's take, for example, a marketing executive, which is a common thing that people want to go in after university, as well as all the information about what you might need to get into that. You've also got specific job sites as well. So I'm going to cover in a minute some other job sites that's worth being involved with, but those vacancy sources are sort of often specific to the sector or specific to the role and will just allow you to increase your knowledge around a particular sort of sector and get more intel and get maybe a few more vacancies that maybe not everyone is picking up on, and just increase your chance of getting a job in that area. And I don't want to put you off too much with all the talk of qualifications and entry requirements, because they also cover the skills that they'll be looking for. So some of the soft skills that were talked about by Dan in the last section and how you can relate your degree to that. And as we talk about degree, we move on to the what can I do with my degree section of the Prospects website. Again, there's over 100 what can I do with my degree sections there. So if your exact degree isn't covered there will be one very similar to your degree. And what's really useful about this is if you're a step further from there and you don't know exactly what job you're interested in at the moment, it gives you information about sort of what some of the skills you will have gained through your degree were, including specific and transferable ones. Might be particularly useful if you studied a subject where there's not such a clear pathway. So, if you didn't do something like, medicine or engineering, and you're not sure what skills you've got, this allows you to sort of pick up on some of those things like, oh, right, okay, I did actually gain a lot of skills. And then it also talks a lot about some of the common career pathways that have been taken by other people who have done your degree, and that's backed up by sort of actual data about where graduates from those courses have gone on to be 15 months after graduation. So it gives you a really clear sort of both a theoretical, these are the skills you've got, and a concrete, these are what the skills that some of the other people who have done your degree have gone on to do following graduation. I will come on to that in a bit more detail. And then it links back to the job profiles. So if it's, people who did a maths degree and they went on to be an accountant, then it takes you to the it links you to the job profile of accountancy, amongst other things that maths graduates go on to do. And then you're back to the job profiles with all the information contained within there. That's obviously a very basic example. It does go into a bit more depth than that, but it's just give you an idea of how those pages can be useful. There's also stuff on the Prospects website, like career planning quizzes and that sort of thing, where if you're not sure what you want to do, you can get a bit more inspiration and sort of start doing a bit more research and then signing up for some other job sites and that sort of thing. So it's a good way of sort of, clicking through and doing a bit more exploratory work and finding inspiration and sort of getting things off the back of that. So yeah, a couple of other just job sites and careers information sites which are worth flagging. A lot of these I've touched upon already, but yeah, My Career or your university's equivalent and your uni career services website, or any other career service website that you like the look of and think have useful information. You don't have to take the CV advice from the website of the institution you graduated from. If there's another template on another services website you like or information you prefer, then have a look at that. Target Jobs is also linked to AGCAS and is similar to Prospect. It goes into a little bit more detail on specific sectors, but again, is a good general information site for careers. Sites like Milk Round and Rate My Placement, which are kind of job sites with a particular student and graduate focus. It's worth signing up to them and seeing what's on there. There's also sites like Indeed that you may have heard of, but these are sort of more student or graduate focused ones of those. Not to say that sites like Indeed can't be useful if that's your bag, but it's just worth flagging that there are kind of student and graduate focused ones as well. And you can also use sites like your uni's job boards and prospect from that student graduate perspective as well. And then there's also sites I've flagged, GradCracker there, which has a STEM focus. And there's also, if STEM isn't your bag, if you're not from a STEM background or you're not interested in a STEM career, that's not to say that GradCracker is the only one. That's just one example. Let's keep this concise, but it's just a flag that for different sectors, for different areas of work, there will be different job sites and different things you can use to find out information and jobs in those areas. And if you're not sure, again, go back to your careers service. We've got loads and loads of professionals who work in these areas, and we'll be able to point you in the right direction of sites for careers, sectors and departments in that area. Again, I'm just going to keep banging the drum of, if you take one thing from my little section today, do get in touch with your careers service and ask for their support. And then just quickly wanted to touch as well on the graduate outcomes survey, given that we're all a graduate audience here. The graduate outcomes survey is something that will be open for 3 months after you graduate. And it'll be open for 3 months, about 15 months after you graduate. And it helps to support future university students with decision-making and information about their course. So the survey asks what you've been up to since graduation, to what extent your degree has helped you along the way. And your response helps the university evaluate and make changes to the courses, but it also allows future students to gain an insight into career destinations and whether or not the course helped you. So it's an opportunity to be positive about how it's impacted, if that's the case, and also be a bit critical and give the honest feedback if it hasn't been. And that will help people in the future make decisions. So if you graduated in summer 2023, it'll be open for you now for another month or so. If you graduated in summer 2024, it'll be open about this time next year. So keep an eye out for an email. It's your university's name at graduateoutcomes.com. It's a very quick survey to complete. Shouldn't take more than 10 minutes or so, but I'd really encourage you to fill that out if you could. I did put Q&A, but I realised I think I'm over time already, so I'm just going to say thanks for listening. And again, just to end by saying what I've already said about 3 times now, but do keep in touch with your career services, see what they've got to offer, don't be a stranger. They actively want you to be in touch with them and to help us help you. And if there's any University of Leeds people on the line or on the call, more than happy for you to ask the organisers for my email address or to get in touch with us. And if you're not from the University of Leeds, do the same with your provider. I'm going to pass back over to Paul now, but I'll be around in the questions just for a little bit. So yeah, if you've got any questions for me, do give me a shout and I will help answer. Nice to meet you all and best of luck.
Thank you, Tom. Really appreciate your time there, and a second of obviously representing the University of Leeds, but really kind of giving an overview of what's available in general from careers teams across the country. So whichever university you went to, do get in touch to say we want to hear from you. Myself, I work here at the University at Liverpool, and as Tom says, if you do anything in the next fortnight or even longer than that, do get in touch with the University Careers team. They'll be more than happy to help graduates just as much as they help current students. So we're into the final section now. We've obviously heard from employers and kind of organisations and university careers teams, but obviously this event really needs to hear from graduates. So that's exactly what we've got coming up for the final section. So really great that we've got Kate Jervis, who's going to talk, and also Justina as well. So without further ado, hand over to you guys, and yeah, really kind of keen to hear the graduate voice perspective on all of this.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for the introduction and for inviting me here today. So my name's Kate. I am a graduate scientist at AstraZeneca, and I graduated from Newcastle University back in 2023. So there's a bit of context to me. Like I said, I graduated in 2023. This was from a 5-year degree. So I spent 2 years at Newcastle, then left for a year to go to Cambridge to work for AstraZeneca on a placement year, and then returned for my undergraduate and master's years. And this placement year was probably the single most transformative thing that I have ever done. It was a hugely valuable experience, not only in terms of sort of technical skills and understanding of the industry, but also for my confidence. and for sort of understanding the value of the work that I could do and the perspectives that I can bring to industry. And I would say that, not everybody on this call will have done a placement year, but I think it's really important to find that confidence somewhere in your experiences or in yourself. And remember that, as somebody early in your career, as a graduate, as a university student, people want to have your experiences. They want to have your perspectives in the workplace. And so remembering that and sort of going forward with that in mind really helps, I think, particularly at interview stage. I was reflecting on my career journey when I was sort of thinking about what to say in this presentation. And I looked through all my files on my laptop because I save absolutely everything that I do. And I saw that I think apart from like the LinkedIn easy apply one-click applications and when sort of recruiters pass your CV around, I applied, I think, to 16 distinct different jobs when I was looking for work. And of those, 8 of them completely ghosted me and I had absolutely nothing. In fact, I only got 3 interviews of that 16 applications. But when I did get interviews, I was actually quite good with those, and I managed to get 3 job offers within a 24-hour period, which was absolutely amazing. The sort of lesson I want to give from this was that I really thought that nobody wanted me. I thought that I had nothing to offer. I spent a lot of time feeling very demoralised and demotivated by all these rejections. And it wasn't that I was a bad candidate. It wasn't that nobody wanted me. Clearly I did quite well in the end. But I think you need to prepare yourself for a degree of disappointment and a degree of rejection. And you sort of need to steel yourself emotionally and remember that, even if you're not getting offers, even if you are getting rejections or ghosting, that doesn't necessarily reflect on you as a candidate. It can just be sometimes a numbers game. It can be very specific criteria that there's no way you'd know. So just kind of have faith and keep applying to things, I think, is the first lesson, because I think I needed to hear that when I was sort of at this point back in 2023. So I've put together here some advice from my experiences applying for graduate roles. I won't go over all of it because I feel like it's mostly pretty self-explanatory. You've probably been told this advice, hundreds of times by different people. But there's a couple of specific things that I do that I think were quite useful that I thought I wanted to share. Firstly is the broad CV. So this is how I sort of approach personalising my CV for different applications. This is something that obviously is really important, but it's also an absolute pain. And if you don't make it easy for yourself, you're not going to do it. And then if you don't do it, then you're going to be a lot less likely to, get the jobs. So I keep a big document. It's pages and pages and pages long with everything I could possibly put on my CV. So for all of the jobs that I've done, all the experiences I've had, anything I might want to say, I keep that in one big document, and I get feedback on that document from my careers advisor. And then when it comes to building a CV for a specific application, I sort of can approach it in a modular fashion, and I can sort of borrow chunks and sort of rearrange them in the way that makes the most sense for that specific job. I do also do this with my LinkedIn. So there's a QR code in the bottom of the slides that will take you to my LinkedIn page if you do want to connect or ask any questions there, or just see what I've got on there. But that's kind of how I structure that. So I always have all that information to hand. And the other thing that I do is I create an examples bank for interviews. So I'm autistic, and one of the things I kind of struggle with is memory recall. So in interviews, I can be quite prone to freezing up, and if I don't have the example to sort of the top of my head, it's just not going to come out. So to sort of work around that, my careers advisor actually suggested to come up with, skills that I might be asked about, for example, communication, write out the STAR technique answer that I'd want to use for that question, and then revisit those answers and think, what else could I repurpose them for? So if I have an example for communication, I might read it back and think, okay, actually, this is also showing teamwork, or it's also showing leadership, or it's also showing adaptability. And I'd then annotate that example with the extra skills that it could also be used for. And that way, sort of, instead of feeling like I need to memorize, 1,000 different examples for all the possible questions that could come up, I can build sort of a bank of a few very versatile examples that I can use for lots of different possible questions. And in terms of my anxiety going into an interview, that really calms me down, if nothing else, because I know that I've got strong examples in my back pocket that I can use. They aren't always technical. So for me, I'm a scientist. A lot of them aren't scientific examples. And in fact, when I got my job at AZ, a lot of the examples I used weren't scientific, and that was okay because they showcased the skills that they cared about. And it just makes me feel a lot more comfortable and confident that I know what I'm doing. I know what I can bring to the table and what answers I need to sort of give. So they're kind of the top tips and advice that I can give, I think, from my perspective. I'm aware in the interest of time I need to keep this a little bit short. So in terms of questions, I will stick around on the call to answer questions in the Q&A section if anybody has any about anything I've said, anything I've not said, anything about disability disclosure as well, because that is something I've had to sort of navigate a little bit in the workplace as an autistic person. And obviously, please do feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if you have any questions after the fact that you might want to ask. But yeah, I hope that was useful, and I'll pass on to Jyotsna Verma. Yes.
Hi, I'm Jyotsna Verma. I don't have a presentation, but I'm gonna explain my experience with careers as an international student. So I have done my master's in data science from Newcastle University, and I graduated in 2022, and now I work as a data analyst for the university in the career service. So the first time that I got to know about career service was when I went to collect my BRP. There I saw a lot of brochures, pamphlets, and job advertisements and career profiles there. And it made me think about, okay, career service is going to be something that I will be taking help from throughout the year. But it didn't happen that way. And then I went back and my semester started. But then I received an email notification from Career Service where it was about the regular registering for the regular job notifications and other things. And I thought it would be really helpful, and I registered for the daily job notifications. So at one point of time, I received a job notification that was about my first internship, because I have done 2 internships on campus and off campus, and both were provided by Career Service. The pattern was a little bit different, but my experience I'll share now. So the first one was it was an email notification where I got to know about an internship that was 250 hours around my study hours, and it offered a bursary. So at that point of time, I started filling my form, but there was a question where I had to answer 200, where the answer was to be in like 200 words. So I think, as every student would do, I saved it for later, that I'm going to finish that later. But in a few days, it skipped my mind, but I received an email prompt from Career Service, an email notification that reminded me to complete my form to finish my form, because the deadline was approaching. And I'm really thankful for that email notification, because that's how I got my internship. I was able to finish my form on time, and I was shortlisted for that. So that was like my first ever job experience, UK-based job experience, because being an international student, it was really important for me to have a job experience that was UK-based. So throughout my internship journey, Career Service was constantly in touch with me. They kept checking in about any kind of support if we needed, or any other requirements of how the internship was going, to check in for our learnings and any kind of other difficulties. So I would actually recommend getting in touch with careers during the early stages, and because you'll get to know a lot of information. And secondly, my second internship was not advertised normally. It was through a networking event where my friends went for some kind of networking event, and there they met a person who was having a conversation about different topics, and they thought that I would be interested into that. And it's just, I reached out to that certain person who happened to be the director of a company, and we had a conversation, and they showed us the team, they talked us about the project, and they created this 3 internships, and they requested the internship through the Jobs on Campus team in the Career Service. So that was how I got my second internship. So I would actually recommend try not missing out on events on campus and the networking events, because you never know who you would meet there and what kind of opportunities are there. Don't be shy to take on any opportunity that you find is in your field, or give it like an open chance. So while I was going through and that second internship, not only it was a great experience for me, it actually turned out to be a great experience for my thesis as well, because I turned it into my final project dissertation. So I was able to do my thesis on a real-time project. When I was going through this internships and thesis, I realized that I have to get a graduate job, because being an international student, I had this pressure of deadline and my visa clock was ticking in. So at that point of time, even though I had my internships through career service, I got to know, I went back for my job experience, like resume and cover letter, to the career service, because all my friends were using career service and they gave a really brilliant feedback. So when I went to the careers for my cover letter and my resume, I had a really great experience. They were actually really helpful, and they asked me to get the job description of the jobs that I was wanting to apply. They explained me how to tailor my resume according to the job description. They explained me how to tweak the cover letter according to that, and they checked the resume and the cover letter, and they were available at every point of time. At one point of time, we all face some kind of problem. So for me, the problem was managing the time, because I was going through the internship, my thesis, sometimes classes, and it was difficult to go to see them in person. So they were even able to avoid this kind of problem, and they were able to give the appointments online. So they will actually tailor their support in a way that's needed for you. At one point of time, I had two job opportunities. One was at this other company, and the other was in the university. Because I was able to go into the next steps, I was able to get different supports from career service as well. I was able to get the interview preparation, the presentation preparation. They helped me throughout with that. And at the end, I actually got offers from both the jobs. But when I got this opportunity to work in the university, this is a sector where I wouldn't have typically worked, being from an engineering background. So when I got this opportunity, and as all my family have worked in the university, it was quite appealing for me. So I ended up choosing this job, and I'm really happy to be working for this career service and the university now, because I've gotten a lot of support, constant support from the careers. So I would actually, I'm not going to take any more of the time, but I would recommend, and I would actually say, don't miss out on any kind of events on campus, off campus, if they are related to your field or anything. And I would really recommend to get in touch with careers at the early stages, because there might be a lot of opportunities that you might miss on if you are not getting in touch, or if you're not really aware of that. That's from my side. I'll stick in the chat for any questions. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much both for your insights there from your graduate perspective. I think that's always a really valuable part of this webinar that we've been doing for 5 years now. You give that kind of very real and recent lived experience that I'm sure was of great benefit to everyone listening. And that does conclude the event. So I'd say at this point, just a couple of quick things to mention. As you can see on screen, there's some links there for where to go for next steps. We've had over 100 odd questions, I think, throughout the day, and I think they've all been answered. So, I'd say do pop any others in just now, and we'll make sure they get answered as well. But otherwise, thank you so much to all the events organisers, for all of our speakers. It's been a really insightful morning. Hopefully, you've learned a lot, got some inspiration, and can take that somewhere very, very soon. So, thank you, and have a great rest of the week.